Welcome, everybody. My name is Kimberly Hollister, and I'm the Acting Provost and Vice President for Academic Affairs, and also the Dean of the Feliciano School of Business here at Montclair State University. I want to thank you for joining us for Women Entrepreneurship Week 2021. This year, we are so excited to be hosting a hybrid event where we have a few folks joining us safely masked in person here on campus, and a majority of you joining us virtually from honestly around the globe. We know that this has been such a challenging and disruptive time, to say the least. So what we're hoping is that we can make today a celebration where we can come together to, as a community, to hear these inspiring stories told by amazing women entrepreneurs and really honor the courage and the perseverance we have all shown as women, moms, business owners, and leaders over the past year and a half. We would love for you to leave today feeling encouraged and renewed for the road ahead and inspired by these women. Before we start, though, we'd like to quickly thank all of our speakers, presenters, faculty members who you'll hear from today. Thank you for taking the time from your very busy schedules to join us. We also want to thank our sponsors: Lightbridge Academy, Horizon Blue Cross and Blue Shield of New Jersey, the COCO, NJEDA, PNC Financial Services Group, and Gearhart Law. We want to acknowledge your tremendous support, especially during these unprecedented times. And lastly, thank you to the countless folks who have made this event possible. There are so many, too many to name, but we appreciate your support today and every day. So we're going to kick off today's programming on a very exciting note by introducing our first speakers, Montclair's very own Bobby Brown and Tracy Strahan. Bobby Brown is a beauty industry titan, world-renowned makeup artist, best-selling author, sought-after speaker, and serial entrepreneur. As a professional makeup artist, Bobby created the 10 simple lipsticks that launched her billion-dollar brand, Bobby Brown Cosmetics. Bobby left her namesake brand in 2016 to return to her roots as an entrepreneur, launching her venture, Beauty Evolution LLC, which includes JustBobby.com, an editorial content platform, and The George, a design-minded boutique hotel here in Montclair, New Jersey. She is the author of 9 best-selling books and a host of iHeart's Radio Beyond the Beauty podcast. We're excited to hear about Bobby's newest venture, Jones Road, which is a collection of edited and indispensable products for all ages, skin types, and skin tones. Bobby will be in conversation with award-winning journalist Tracy Strahan, a breaking news and general assignment reporter who regularly appears on Today in New York and has also hosted Positively Black, NBC4 New York's long-running public affairs program that highlights stories impacting the African American community. In addition to winning Emmy and Edward R. Murrow Awards, most recently, Strahan's reporting was a key component of NBC4 New York's award-winning COVID-19 coverage, which earned them the prestigious Alfred I. DuPont Columbia University Award. Beyond their many amazing accomplishments, both of these women are also committed to supporting and giving back to the local community here in Montclair. And we are so grateful to have these hometown heroes join us today. Please join me in welcoming Bobby Brown and Tracy Strahan.
I like to follow.
You have a preference?
This one? Hi.
Hello, everyone. Here and virtually joining us. I'm Tracy Strahan, and you are?
Bobby Brown.
We've met a couple times.
We have. And our relationship started on Instagram.
Right. I was trying to remember how I first met Bobby, because we're both Montclair girls. We both are from the same place in the world.
Chicago.
We both have connections to Syracuse University, my alma mater.
My kids.
And she, I'm told, hands out the best candy at her house for trick or treat every year.
Oh, and we both have Dylans.
Yes, we both
We
have.
both have our kids named Dylan.
Exactly. Where do you want to start?
I don't know.
Is this the most loaded thing ever? Because this woman, I mean, you talk about somebody who has the laundry list of achievements, but you're still working. I just came from Bobby's studio where she's still managing, doing so many things. Let's talk about Jones Road.
Yeah. Oh,
You
I
have
love
an
starting with
anniversary.
Jones Road.
You have an anniversary coming up.
This is 1 year of Jones Road. So Jones Road is a clean beauty line with a very different feel, aesthetic, and purpose than my original line. It's totally different, and it's been a year. I launched Jones Road a week before the presidential election in the middle of
Let's
the
talk about
pandemic.
what I was going to say.
Black Lives Matter. What else is going on? Me
I think
Too.
you picked probably what most would say is the worst time to launch a product.
Yeah, yes, and I launched a brand, and the reason is it was the date of my 25-year non-compete coming to an end. So to me, that was a perfect time.
Well, let's talk about that though.
Yeah.
48 hours after this non-compete comes to an end, and let's explain a little bit about what happened. You've built this Bobbi Brown brand that we all know, we've all come to love, know the cosmetics, know the books. Then what happens?
I left the brand. That we don't have enough time to discuss all of that, but I left the brand, and when I left, I had 4.5 years left on a 25-year non-compete, which 4.5 years to me is like a lifetime. What am I going to do for 4.5 years? But I did a bunch of projects, a bunch of things, tried some things. Some worked, some didn't work. Renovated a hotel, did a couple other things, and launched Jones Road on this anniversary. And you know, for any entrepreneur out there, I just am so passionately happy to do something I love. And so when most people think I'm working so hard, I'm not really. I don't look at it as work. I look at I love what I do.
Well, this
Love what I do.
entrepreneurial title,
Yeah.
I feel like,
And I don't know how to spell it, by the way. Thank God for spell check.
I know, I
I'm
was
always
gonna
like,
look up here. I was
E-N-T, I
hoping
think
to
there's
say-
an E. I used to, yeah.
public schools.
Yeah. Public schools, yeah.
Entrepreneurial title, I feel like it means more to you now than it may have 10 years ago.
Well, I didn't really know what it was being an entrepreneur. And by the way, the reason I even have a makeup, career is because when I told my mother that I wanted to drop out of school, she said, "You have to go to college, but Mom, I'm not interested in anything. I don't know what I want to do." She said, "If today's your birthday, you could do anything." And I said, "I want to go to the department store and play with makeup." She says, "There you go, be a makeup artist." And I said, "I don't want to go to beauty school." She said, "I'm sure there's a college." I didn't know Montclair at the time, but Emerson College had an interdisciplinary degree, which I still don't know what interdisciplinary means, but it basically meant that I could make up my own major.
Makeup.
Right, so I did. And when I told my dad I'm going to go study makeup in college, my dad, who was a lawyer at the time, said, "What are you going to take, Mascara 101?" So guess what? I want to start a series now on YouTube called
Mascara 101.
Well, Makeup 101, and have mascara as the first lesson.
But I mean, even at that point, to be an entrepreneur, it wasn't in your lexicon, I'm sure.
Well, it wasn't, but I think I watched my Papa Sam in his career. My Papa Sam came here from Russia, didn't know anyone, started one business, went to another one. By the time I was born, he was known in Chicago as Cadillac Sam, and he basically spent most of his time either working or sending out brochures and pamphlets. And as kids, we used to stuff them. And, Papa had pictures of him and his kids. And now I know that's called marketing.
Right.
And he would, give things away and be in magazines. Now I know that's called PR.
Right.
So it's get the word out. Papa would have really killed Instagram. He would have really owned it.
But there's so many people out there who are wondering, what's the first step, right? How do I take that first step off the ledge, and am I going to fall? Am I going to fly? What should I expect?
Well, you're going to do all of those things because you need to do all those things. But I have people that call me up and say, "Can you talk to me? I have a business plan. How am I going to get, people buying?" Like, they ask me all these questions, and I give them a few minutes, and they send me the business plan, and they talk about what the product is, they talk about everything, and I say, can I see the product? And they're like, I don't have the product. I'm like, what do you mean you don't have the product? How do you know you're going to have a product? How do you know that this is actually a business? And I actually helped a girl who graduated from Harvard Business School, you know, with basically her company that said, I want to do this, I want to take out a loan, I want to do all this. I'm like, but where is the product? She said, well, I haven't done that yet. I said, well,
did the opposite.
yeah, everything has to start with a product.
Right.
I don't care if it's granola that you want to build a company about. You just need to think about what it is, your skill. Right. And, you know, since we have entrepreneurs listening, I met a girl recently at the Fortune's Most Powerful Women Summit who just sold her business. And I said, congrats, what's your business? She said, well, I have a cleaning company with cleaning products. And I said, what's your journey? And she said, I used to clean houses. And then I got other people to help me clean houses. We started a company. And then I thought, I don't like any of the cleaning things. She made a whole line and grew this business, and she sold it. Goldman Sachs was behind her and helping her, and she's a founder, and she is a seller now.
Well, it seems like step one is
what is it? First of all, it's hard work, and
it's messy.
It's really messy. It is.
It's messy.
Yeah.
And you don't fake the funk when it comes to your journey at all. It hasn't been, you know, a crystal stair. It hasn't been all glitz and glamour. No. It's been rough.
It's been rough. I mean, first of all, I raised 3 kids while trying to figure out, you know, and juggle things that I was expected to be at and do. Mm-hmm. But my friends, you know, like my family, my friends, it's hard juggling it and figuring it out.
Like I told you, the struggle is the juggle.
It is.
Right? We all have whatever it is in our lives, whether it's children, whether it's husbands and wives, family, or just life.
money situations.
Sure.
There's, you know, everyone has different things. I was a waitress out of college, so I knew I could somehow pay my rent.
Right.
You know, I did not.
Was that your fallback plan?
Well, yeah, I knew I had it while I was trying to be a makeup artist. And I didn't know what I wanted to do with makeup, but I knew, I'm being from Chicago, I'm very practical. I knew that I wasn't, you know, I did not have a trust fund. And my father, as a graduation gift, paid my rent for a year.
Oh, bless him.
And it was pretty amazing. And I called him one day, and he gave me a credit card. I had $200, you know, whatever it's called.
The limit?
Limit. I had a $200 limit. This is a long time ago. And I could never stick to it. And I called him up, and I'm like, Dad, I owe so much money and I said, I can't budget. And my father said, stop trying to budget. Figure out how you're going to make more money. And I put an ad in the Village Voice in New York, and I got one call, and he came to my a studio, and I did his makeup. I did it once. It was a guy that told me he was a female impersonator.
How did that go?
Well, you know, it was a journey. Yeah. It was a journey, yeah.
I mean, I love the story of you going to Bergdorf's for the first time. How many lipsticks did you bring? What were the shades? What was your concept?
Well, I launched Bobbi Brown in 1991 when My Dylan was literally 5 or 6 months old.
There was no concept of My Dylan at that point.
Right, I know, exactly.
No.
Yeah, this was, My Dylan was 6 months old. He's now 31, about to get married. And I met someone whose job was it to be a cosmetics buyer at Bergdorf. I had never shopped in Bergdorf. And I pitched it to her, and she took it. And, you know, went back and forth, and it's never that easy. But we thought we'd sell 100 lipsticks the first month. Would have been good, and we sold 100 the first day. And, you know, the only way I got people in the store is I invited my model friends, I invited my friends, I invited my relatives, and people bought.
But at the time, I mean, you think of 1991 makeup when I was reading like Mirabella, and YM and all of those fun, bizarre magazines, In Style magazine and all of those things. The concept of makeup was a heck of a lot more different than what you presented.
Right, and I was a makeup artist working for all those magazines, but I would get hired when a photographer or a stylist wanted my style because I couldn't do ugly makeup, no matter how hard I tried. I'm like, that foundation doesn't match the skin.
You know exactly what I mean. I think we all remember Maybe not the students,
Yeah.
but
Google it, guys.
Google
Yeah.
it. I mean, you were the earth tones. You were what
Yeah.
people look like in the city.
Right.
So who told you no?
Everybody told me no. And, I would always show big makeup artists my work, and they'd say, you're never going to work because people don't want that kind of makeup. And, but there was good things they told me. Like one guy said, those eyebrows are a mess. You need to square them off and do this. And, you're insulted for a minute, but then I realized, okay, I learned something.
Right.
So, all the people that stand in your way, you learn something. It's up to you what you do with the information.
But I feel like in your career, there's always been the ebb and flow, because here you are, we talk about starting with Bergdorf, selling all this lipstick, all of these cosmetics, building a brand,
Yeah.
Where people know your name at the height of everything. What makes you walk away?
Well, what made me walk away was not an overnight decision. It was years in the making. I stayed after I sold the company. My husband and I sold the company. I stayed for 22 years as a corporate employee. And anyone that hasn't had experience in corporate America, let me tell you, it's not for sissies at all. And 22 years, not many founders stick around.
Right.
And the end was a struggle.
But it's your name.
It's my name, and I thought it was my brand, but it wasn't. And it was finally evident and clear that I couldn't fix it, and it was my Aunt Alice, who is 90 years old, from Chicago, who called and she said, how's it going? And I told her, and she said, it's time. It's time. She said, I've been listening to you complain for 2 years.
Wow.
It's time.
That's a tough pivot.
Yeah. It was not easy. It was not easy.
So the day after you sign all the papers, it's Estee Lauder's, Bobby Brown belongs to them.
That was magical. That was amazing.
I was going to say, are you in the fetal position, or are you like
No.
doing tequila shots? What's the deal?
I don't think I drank tequila back then, but I was doing some kind of something. So no, we celebrated. We bought season tickets to the Nets, floor seats to the Nets, and then of course this entrepreneur decides, wow, I should do makeup for the cheerleaders. So every time they danced, it said makeup by Bobby Brown Cosmetics. That's the way the stupid mind works.
But that's you can't turn it off.
I know I can't turn it off.
But I mean, is that the impetus for being a creative entrepreneur, for wanting to branch out, that you always have something going?
I think I spent so many years not fitting in a box, literally. I mean, I was the shortest kid. I was not the smartest kid, which I know is because I'm a different kind of learner. I'm a visual learner. I didn't know that at the time. I just thought I wasn't as smart as my friends. I thought I wasn't as, physically fit as my cheerleader friends. And, you compare yourself when you're a kid. And I just didn't win. And I realized as I was getting older, like, oh my God, I am really smart. And guess what? I could touch my toes, and I could, do push-ups, and I could do anything that I put my mind to.
But is there ever a point after that happened where you said, if I'm not Bobby Brown Cosmetics, who the hell am I?
Well, I was other things. I had other hats. I mean, I was a mom. I was a wife. I was a part of the community. I also always did what I call entrepreneurial things. So, like, being an entrepreneur means things that you do while you have a job. I started a blog. I went and started the beauty magazine for Yahoo. I became a beauty editor of the Today Show. I just kept finding, wow, that's so interesting. I mean, literally, when I asked to be the beauty editor of the Today Show, Jeff Zucker, the producer, said, okay. I mean, I asked and he said yes.
So as part of taking that first step, like we were talking about, having that feeling of why not me?
Yeah. Not why not me, just why not? So it's not like, why not me? No, it's why not? And not everyone has what it takes to be an entrepreneur, and not everyone would have the energy. If you were in my shoes, you'd be like, this is not as fun as it sounds. It's not easy. I mean, but everyone has their own journey. And I hope that when people listen to our journeys, they'll get something. I mean, Tracy gets up at midnight every day. every day.
Everybody's crying.
She gets up at midnight. She's working at 3:30, and I want to share like her story because that's how, if you're an entrepreneur, you know, that's the magic sauce. Like, what is it for her, and how does she do it? And then, you know, when you're having a bad moment, you could be like, all right, I might be tired. My kid didn't sleep, but Tracy Strahan has been up for 4 hours already.
No, but at the same time, you know, Tracy Strahan has a kid who's in 4th grade at Hillside School and all of these different things at Hillside. And, you know, I can't show at 4 o'clock in the morning that I'm exhausted. Yeah. I just want a nap. I want to be in the fetal position. I may be, you know, you may get an email from me at 2 a.m. and you'll be like, this poor person, what's up? But it's drive.
Yeah, it is. It's drive.
It's drive.
It's drive.
You know, and practicalities.
Yeah,
like, of course you go to work. Of course you're working, right? And you have something to do.
Yeah, and I didn't know this, but when you leave one thing, it's the first time then you have an opening of maybe trying something else. When you're in it, you couldn't possibly think of what you want to do next.
I think Chicago Bobby and Chicago Tracy, pardon me, couldn't see this.
Yeah, no.
You know,
of course not.
we couldn't see this. When you were in Wilmette and I'm in Park Forest, Illinois, I couldn't have imagined that.
No.
I'm working in New York City.
Yeah.
You know, I have 12 million people at any time watching me.
Yeah.
And even more on airplanes in the Caribbean, you know, overseas. I mean, the reach.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's insane. It does. It gives you chills.
And I don't know about you, but when I go back and see my friends that from high school, I don't keep in touch with that many of them. Like when, you know, I moved to New York and I did this thing. I'm sure they're surprised. And most of them, you know, were amazing homemakers. One girl worked in a bank. Like, they didn't leave.
But it's always, you know, whoever gets those superlatives in the high school yearbook, 9 times out of 10, they're not the person that surprises the heck out of everyone and becomes Bobby Brown.
Do you know what I did? It's the dumbest thing in the whole world. For my 25th anniversary, or my 25th high school reunion, or maybe 25 or 30, I'm really bad at math, I brought the Today Show. We did a story. I brought the Today Show.
To the high school?
To the high school and to my dad's backyard. And I had my friends come in. Honestly, my friends went back to the way they acted in high school, the gossip and the thing, and I was like, what did I do? What did I do? And my gym teacher was there, Miss Mack, and she's like, I know why you've made it so much, because of me. And I'm like, do I say it? I'm like, Miss Mack, you hated me. You were so rough on me.
Miss Mack.
I was McNamara. And she said, oh my God, I'm sorry.
Well, in a way, didn't that help you out?
Yes, and I said thank you.
Shape you?
By someone telling me that I was the slowest person in the entire class?
You know, another thing I wanted to talk about is this pandemic pivot that I think no matter what you do or who you are, we've all had to shift. Everyone in here has their faces covered. Usually this would be a sold out event. Usually there would be so many other things happening. You decide to start a business during this that's only online. Only online.
Until next week or the week after, we're opening a store in Montclair.
We said.
A little store. It's
Not
very
with
cute
C,
and little.
It's a store.
It's a store. It's
that
a
we're
start.
happy to have a Bobby presence in Montclair. But I mean, everything you do to promote a business just goes tossed out the window when there's a pandemic. You know, it's a little extra legwork, I'm thinking.
Well, I mean, first of all, it's so much easier launching a business during the pandemic than it ever was launching anything not in the pandemic.
Yeah.
I didn't need to hire interns to put bags together with little ribbons. I didn't need to spend money on a launch party. I didn't need to do any of that.
But it still worked.
You know what? Because the things that really matter is having people know about it. Like my first job was to get the editors to know about it so they could write about it and start spreading the word. So I hired my neighbor, who is the most brilliant PR marketing person. And honestly, she's here, Lynette. Yeah. And
she's my friend too.
Yeah, she brought us together. And honestly, it's like, okay. And she did a bang-up job, and we just started. And, you know, I don't, and everything, you know, I was on the Today Show. We did a 5-minute piece on the Today Show. I sat on my couch. I had shorts on because it was still hot.
Professional.
Yeah, and I had a blazer on, like you know, and on Zoom. We shot it on Zoom.
Yeah.
With another Montclair producer, Joanne Lamarca.
Oh, there are a lot of
So, yeah.
Montclair's a media town.
It is.
Am I right, everybody?
You know, and you know what? If you have your community, you just never know who's in your community.
I was going to ask about that because community support.
Yeah.
So you're going to have a Jones Road presence in Montclair.
Mm-hmm.
You have the George Hotel in Montclair, if
Yeah.
everyone's familiar with
Yeah.
that. All of these things that make you such a Montclair person. How has
Yeah.
Montclair helped shape you business-wise and
Well-
personally, of course?
Well, you know, Montclair to me, my husband and I moved to Montclair the day we came back from our honeymoon.
Oh, wow. I
Didn't know a soul, I didn't have a kid, didn't have a dog. Moved here, I was instantly like lonely. I went and got a dog. I met a friend at a vet, so I had a friend, and was pregnant on our 1-year anniversary. Had a Dylan, and my kids went to public school. Our second son graduated from Montclair State. I have my doctorate from Montclair State, and what I love about Montclair.
Give it up.
What I love about Montclair is the community of really nice people, and you never know what anyone does, and you never know anything about them or where they've come from. I mean, you know, I have a friend who's a police officer who came here homeless and slept in cars. Garth, do you know Garth? The one, you know, I have ROM Reaching Out Montclair, which helps the underserved in Montclair. We adopt, and we have to get that meeting together. Lynette, please write it down.
See how that brain is
see,
just
right.
working,
I'm like,
working,
oh, yeah.
working. Turn it off.
So, you know, Stephen Colbert lives here. Yogi Berra was one of my
Yes.
best friends.
Yes.
You know, John Callie, my kids, was my youngest son's godfather. Now his name's on, you know, a Montclair school, the John J. Callie School of Music.
Right.
And, you know.
Well, your name is everywhere in Montclair. You're in the YMCA, you know, and
Really?
all these things. Oh, yeah.
I didn't know that.
When I was working out on Park Street,
Ah.
when I was working out at the Park Street gym, you know,
Yeah.
you're so ingrained in the community.
Yeah.
It's a love. It
is. And my husband is, you know, this amazing developer businessman that has, like, transformed neighborhoods. I mean, he is literally does not like the limelight at all. And, you know, I've been trying to do some kind of profile on him because what he's done, just changing neighborhoods, is humongous.
It shows.
Yeah, and it shows, and he's really good at it.
We only have a couple minutes left, and we want to thank everyone for coming out. We want to thank you, my friend.
Aw,
And
my friend.
yes, chatting like we do.
Yeah.
Like we could have done this for another hour, and it would have gone south eventually. It would have been entertaining, I assure you. I want to leave you with this. So many people look to you as someone who's made it. You got it made in the shade. You can't fail. You got it all going on. You say.
Trust me, when things go bad, and they do, it's up to you how you look at it and what you do. And I have many failures, and, you know, people don't seem to ask you about them. They ask you about the successes. But, you know, there's always failures. There's people I've hired that didn't work out. There's, you know, other brands that I tried that didn't work out. You know, I had an eyeglass line. It was amazing. And, you know, I had to walk away from it because it didn't work out. You know, things happened, and, you know, you just go on. And honestly, I don't have a hobby. I don't have a hobby.
I think working is your hobby.
It kind of is.
A little
And
bit.
mentoring, you know, I mentor a lot.
Well, let's let everybody know about Jones Road.
Yeah, Jones Road. It'll be on Grove Street, across from the corner.
You all know the corner. I've seen you all standing outside for a table every weekend.
Yeah, and just honestly, my last word to everyone is just, it's all in your attitude. It's all you have it, whatever it is. It's what you do with it, and you've got it. Be positive.
Bobby Brown, everybody.
Oh, thank you. You're good. Oh,
What are we going to talk about in the car ride home now?
we're going to talk about your next
Oh, here
your
we
next
go. All right.
steps and
Mike's
how I'm
off,
going to
everyone.
reinvent her. I want her to sleep a little bit.
Yeah, I'm going to sleep right now.
Thanks, guys.
That was great. Thank you so much. And hi, my name is Mimi Feliciano. I'm the CEO and founder of FEM Real Estate. I'm the benefactor and board member of the Feliciano School of Entrepreneurship and the Feliciano School of Business and the chairwoman of the Global Center on Human Trafficking. So I am thrilled to welcome you all here today for our 8th annual, it's gone so fast, 8th annual Women Entrepreneurship Week. You know, Montclair has hosted about 200 female founders telling their inspiring stories over the last 8 years, but it's also inspired thousands of students all over the world with countless female founders speaking. And today we have 680 registered all over watching us, and we have our largest Women Entrepreneurship Week in spite of the COVID, which is amazing to me. So, yeah. And that's because of the hard work of Liz. I know Liz has been great, and Valeria's our new director too. So we have 250 universities participating today. We have 40 countries and 48 states. So I'm thrilled about that. And, you know, the thing about our entrepreneurship program is not just for business students. We have students, entrepreneurial scholars from all over campus, representing every college here on campus. And that's the most exciting thing about it, because, you know, teaching innovative thinking is what we do. And so I would like to have a short video, and we have greetings from some of our global partners.
Hello, I'm Jackie Rees-Ulmer. I'm the Dean of the College of Business at Ohio University. Welcome to Women in Entrepreneurship Week.
Go Bobcats!
Hi, we are the Weiner Center for Entrepreneurship at the University of Wisconsin-Madison School of Business.
We're so excited to be participating in Women's Entrepreneurship Week 2021.
Thank you for celebrating with us.
At Cincinnati State Technical and Community College.
We're from the School of Business at Western New Mexico University.
We're from the Student Engagement, Empowerment, and Development team here at Rutgers University.
Hello, from Freeman College of Management at Bucknell University.
The future is women.
The future is women.
The future is women.
We are so excited for Women's Entrepreneurship Week here at Berkeley College.
Welcome to Tennessee State University.
We are so excited to celebrate Women's Entrepreneurship Week 2021 with you.
Hi, we are from the Kenan Center for Entrepreneurship at The Ohio State University. Thank you for joining us as we celebrate Women Entrepreneurship Week 2021. OHIO!
Hi everyone, we're from the Church Center for Entrepreneurship and Innovation at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas.
We are from the Office of Veteran Services at St. Joseph's University in Philadelphia.
We are from the Rowan Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship at Rowan University.
I'm from the School of Business and Economics here at University of Wisconsin-Stevens Point, Masters of Business Administration, and we are so excited to be celebrating Women's Entrepreneurship Week 2021. Go Pointers!
Hi, we're from the Women in Business Club at the University of Wyoming.
Thank you so much for joining us in celebrating Women Entrepreneurship Week 2021.
Woo! Hi, we're from the Women in Business Club at Fairleigh Dickinson University.
Hello, I'm Sandra Melbourne, and I am pleased to announce that George Brown College in Toronto, Canada, and our college's entrepreneur collaboration partners, Start GBC, Enactus George Brown, Youth Going Forward, Digital Media Gaming Incubator, and the Social Innovation Hub are proud to be part of this year's Women's Entrepreneurship Week 2021.
Namaste. We are from Spark, the entrepreneurship cell at Bennett University, India. We are so excited to be participating in the Women Entrepreneurship Week 2021.
GHBC College of Business and Public Administration.
Hi, my name is Eileen. I'm the director of the Tuck Queen Accelerator, the first startup accelerator in Iraq. We are housed at the American University of Iraq in Suleimani.
At Women in Engineering and Science at Tecnológico Monterrey.
At the Universidad de Monterrey.
At Sonashiro, Tec de Monterrey.
At Monterrey.
At University of Monterrey.
At Red de Monterrey,
we are committed to celebrate women entrepreneurs in our ecosystem.
Hola, te invitamos a participar y a jugar en nuestro encuentro con mujeres destacadas de nuestra comunidad el próximo martes 19 de octubre, organizado por el Centro de Desarrollo para Emprendedores y Exportadores de la Universidad de Palermo, Buenos Aires, Argentina, en el marco de la Women Entrepreneurship Week 2021.
At RIT Kosovo, we are committed to celebrating women entrepreneurs in our community.
Thank you for joining us for Women Entrepreneurship Week 2021.
At Alaska Center I is located in the University of Alaska Fairbanks. We are committed to celebrating women entrepreneurs in our community.
At the Universidad de San in Lima, Peru, we are committed to celebrating the women entrepreneurship in our community. Thank you for joining us in the Women Entrepreneurship Week 2021.
That was inspiring. It feels like, the whole, seeing the representation all over the world, very, very inspiring. I think we've really started a whole movement. And, one of their main missions here at the Center for Entrepreneurship isn't just to support women and men in innovative thinking for their businesses. It's also to come up with innovative solutions to some of today's vexing problem social issues. And we are excited because we have partnered with one of our other schools here on campus to do a social entrepreneurship partnership. And that is with the Global Center on Human Trafficking here at Montclair. And our Center for Entrepreneurship is going to be partnering with them. And they've got, tools for awareness and education that could be shared. And it's our job as our Center for Entrepreneurship to share that message. Because sadly, trafficking there are more slaves today than ever in the history of the world, and it's growing. And so the solution is prevention and awareness and education, and that's what we're going to do. So using our innovative ideas and coming up with creative solutions to partner with them to share all this information is going to be our very first social entrepreneurship project. So getting back to our Women Entrepreneurship Week and business entrepreneurship, I am thrilled to introduce our next speaker, Rebecca Baruchi. Rebecca is the founder of Beck's Life and Row House Publishing. She is a mother of 5, a meditation guide, a birth doula, a mentor for creative healers, and an author and publisher of books for big and little readers. Welcome, Rebecca.
I can stand anywhere? Yes. All right, well, I have 10 minutes, and I'm going to try to tell you all I know about entrepreneurship in that 10 minutes. One thing that was not in my bio is that I wear my politics on my chest. So every time you see me, no matter where you see me, whether it's speaking in front of students or entrepreneurs or in a boardroom, I am going to be wearing a t-shirt, probably made by a Black woman, telling you exactly what my values are or speaking to my journey. And part of being an entrepreneur is showing up as yourself. It is so incredibly important, and I think that this is something that's not talked about enough, to have values, to know your values and to stick with your values. So this book that I was carrying when I came out is the second book that's coming out from Row House Publishing. We have a unique model, an industry disrupting model. I know that word is overused, but we're actually doing it. Our contracts are completely transparent, and we offer what's called the 40-40 model. It is based on 40 acres and a mule, something that was promised to Black Americans and then taken back. So every single one of our authors, no matter the size of their platform, gets a $40,000 advance and a 40% royalty share. That's about 4 times industry average. And when we went out and we started pitching this to venture capitalists and other people to invest, they were like, well, if industry standard is 10%, why wouldn't you just do 15%? Because we want to be fair, we want to be equitable. And we want our authors because we know Black and brown, LGBTQ, disabled folks are doing more for their communities than anyone else. When you give money to a Black-run nonprofit, more of the money is going to the intended recipient than any other nonprofit. So we want to invest in our authors so that they can go out and make change in the world. So all of our authors are writing through a social justice lens. Our second author, I'm so proud, she wrote the Anti-Racist Business book, and this is Trudy LeBron. She believes that every business should be, the foundation should be anti-racist, so you have to start from there. I want to offer, if you find me online, you can see this right here. It's really easy to find me. The first 10 people that DM me or email me, I'm going to send you a copy of that book, an advanced reader copy, because I think it's really important as an entrepreneur to start with that. So going back to showing up as yourself. I'm talking about forced pivots today, but not the forced pivot of COVID, not the forced pivot of us all having to work from home. I'm talking about when we all witnessed a Black man being murdered by police on the internet, on TV, and we saw it again and again and again, of May of last year, and we saw this awakening. We saw it on social media, white women wanting to get very involved and help out and protest and march for the first time in their lives. And not just white women, it was people across the board, across all populations, really wanting to do something, but not understanding how. And as quick as that awareness and that excitement grew, it went away. And that made me look at what I was doing in the world as an author. I was an author at that time, and saying, how can I use this, not exploit it, because it's a terrible thing that we don't want to profit from, but how do we use this to keep people engaged? How do we continue to spread the word? And what I discovered was giving the mic to more people that have the direct experience with the change that I want to make in the world. And I started with my values. My values that actually Trudy LeBron was my business coach before she was an author with my company. She had me write down 5 things that were really important to me. Equity, not equality, equity. Real opportunity that gives people a real chance at success. Empathy, something that we lack in a white supremacist capitalist society that tells us to be hyper-individualistic, to be hyper-competitive, and not to base our actions on community, but only on ourselves. Making people feel loved and seen. Giving my time, talent, and treasure for good. Integrity in word and action. So all of those are the basis for my company, and why I want you as entrepreneurs to know your values and to write them down is because in entrepreneurship, it's so easy to move with the trends. It's so easy. I don't know an entrepreneur that's not multi-talented, who's not a multi-hyphenate. Like, we all want to do all the things, but all the things aren't for us. So combining my values with this forced pivot, what I saw as a forced pivot, a real challenge to the values of my industry, an industry that is 90% white, that is 99% cisgender, that has almost no women in ownership, very few in C-suite positions. When I saw this opportunity to take my values and apply it to something that was coming, I knew that if I built something new, that it would change the industry forever. So this forced pivot, and I'll tell you a very quick story about the actual moment that it happened. I was sitting in a author conference with the CEO of my former publisher, and I walked in. I'm biracial, my father's Black, my mother's white. I walk into the room, even though I'm very, very light, some would say ambiguous, some would say passing. I walk into the room, I always look at the brown. Where are the brown people in the room? And I was in a room with 100 people, and I saw no other brown people there. And by the end of the conference, I was like, there's something really wrong with this picture. And I asked the CEO, why am I sitting in this place that is supposed to be, we're writing about healing, we're writing about spirituality, we're writing about, some are writing about justice. Why am I only seeing white faces? And his answer, you have to understand, Rebecca. Like, come on, my book's $10 at Barnes & say here. So again, I see this opportunity. I see white folks standing up and saying like, I want to do something and I don't know how, and I bought white fragility and now I'm causing more harm, and you know, I'm out here in the comment section like really messing up, but I swear I want to be a good person. And having to leave that racist environment, that exclusionary environment, I said, let's start something brand new, something that's based on my values from the ground up. We talk a lot about burning things down, and I'm all for it. I say set it all on fire. But what are we going to rebuild? So I rebuilt a publishing house brick by brick. We have a publishing council of 4 women of color that is our advisory board. They also are our accountability board. I say, please call us out. Please call us out in public. Please do it on the internet because we want to be better all the time. Again, we have that 40-40 model. We are working with accountants, everywhere from our accountants to our designers to our printers. We're working with people of color, disabled folks, and queer folks. And we're really putting money back into the community. And we're really making an impact in the way of investing in people that we know are going to go back and invest in others. And this cannot be done inside the structure of what exists. And I think a lot of us in here have had the experience. Can I check my time just in case? I know there's someone in the front that's holding time. Thank you. A lot of us have had the experience of being in a company, being in an environment, being in a classroom where we want to change what's going on because we see that the systems are broken and we see that they're not there for us, or they're not there for our siblings, because it's not just about us. We should be looking out for our siblings too, right? So we see this and we try to change it. And there's like, oh, you know, that's really complicated. Or, oh, you know, all the red tape and the bureaucracy, and we're going to have to change this, and I'm going to have to talk to this person. And all of that is BS, because in a capitalist society, the people who want what they want get what they want, right? So starting from scratch, starting this thing that I can do from the very beginning and make these decisions from the beginning cuts all of that out. I get to make the decisions about what professionalism means. I get to make the decisions, and I want to say this real quick when I have this 1 minute left. I get to make the decision to wear my glitter Chuck Taylors, my jeans, and my t-shirt that has my politics on my chest. And this is the way to disrupt, to keep coming back to my values again and again and again, even when I feel like an outsider in the room. And I'll tell you this about Trudy before I leave, and this is really important, and I want all of you, especially those of you of color, those of you from the hood, those of you from another country, those of you with thick accents or whatever, Trudy was turned down. She's an incredible person. She had 2 children by the time she was 16 years old. She didn't finish high school, but then she went on. She's now a PhD candidate, multi-million-dollar business. She went to many publishers with this book, the Anti-Racist Business Book, the Anti-Racist Business Book. It delivers on its claim. And the most common response was, your language is too casual. And we also know what that means, because she talks a little street, because she uses slang. And so what I'm saying at Row House, and I'm saying to you as entrepreneurs, have the opportunity to actually raise the volume on Voices That Matter, our slogan. What I want you to do is think about not only who you're hiring, but how you're allowing them to show up for the world. With their ideas, with their personalities, with their accents, with their culture, with their way of dress, because to me, professionalism is showing up and doing the job, and that's all that counts. That's all that counts. That's all I got. I wish I had 30 more minutes. Thank you so much. And 10 of these, find me.
I'm Gigi Schweikert, and I am the CEO of the Lightbridge Academy. I'm the working mom of 4, and I've been an entrepreneur and a businesswoman my entire life. I started my first business when I was 9 years old, charging 50 cents a week for children to come to summer camp in my backyard. Didn't make a lot of money, but I sure did have a lot of fun. I'd like to welcome you to Women Entrepreneurship at Montclair State University, an opportunity to celebrate women globally for their great ideas, being visionaries, founders, entrepreneurs, and innovators. That's you. As presenting sponsor, we are humbled and privileged to play a very small role in this week's lineup of great professional women. At Lightbridge Academy, we provide childcare for children ages 6 weeks through 6 years, and we're committed to helping that working mom. So we really understand what's been happening the last 19 months. It's been quite uncertain, and we want to thank you for the sacrifices that you've made. And whether you're a mom or not, we understand at Lightbridge Academy. During this time, it's sometimes hard to be optimistic, but optimism and positivity and innovation is really all we have. And every day is uncertain, even when we think things are going well. So use this opportunity and this time, because some of the most important discoveries and innovations and reflections have been made during times of uncertainty. And so whether every day is perfect or it's a rocky road ahead, just remember that you can be creating and thinking of wonderful things that you can do to make this world a better place.
Hi, I'm Michelle Onsbacher. I'm an alum, and I chair the advisory board of the Feliciano School of Business, and also I'm an executive in residence. What a great program so far, Mimi, Liz, and the team. I'm thrilled to introduce our next female founder, Melissa Gorga. Now, we know her from the Real Housewives of New Jersey, but many of us may not know the rest of her story, and we'll hear about it today. She launched her own empire, from creating a social media endorsement platform to building a fashion brand called Envy. Now, there's a store right here in downtown Montclair. Any raise of your hands if you've been there to Envy? Oh, okay. We've had some shoppers if you've had a chance to stop in. I did go with my 20-something daughter. She got some great pieces, anything from casual to going out. And now I need you to look at my outfit. Weren't supposed to clap. Come on. I've got black and gray on. This is obviously something Melissa Gorga wouldn't wear or wouldn't put anyone in. Okay, one more thing for you to look at. I got that at Envy. So not only did my daughter get something, I did too. So let's give a warm Montclair State welcome to Melissa Gorga, who's a fearless leader and an inspiration to us while balancing being a mom and being a mother. Let's, come on, raise our hands. Yay. Welcome, Melissa. I just showed them your shirt from Envy.
And I knew that was an Envy shirt as soon as I saw it. Hi, everyone. Can everyone hear me? I'm so excited to be here. I know that a lot of you know me from The Real Housewives of New Jersey, but there's a lot more, believe it or not, to me, to this reality star. First of all, I had so many friends who went to this school and who went to Montclair State University. Yes. So I was here a lot. And they all loved it, and they're all amazing. They're teachers, and they're all doing amazing. So congrats to all of you for even being here. So what you might not know about me is that I have a BA in elementary education, that before I became a reality star, I wanted to be a teacher. And at the same time that I graduated college, I met my husband, Joe. He had dreams of his own. He had a very successful real estate development company. So I kind of gave up my dream of being a teacher because I graduated and I met Joe at the same time. And I decided I'm going to work for him. He has a very large, lucrative company, and I want to make it bigger. I want to create an empire that we're going to get married, we're going to have a family, and I wanted to work with Joe. So we started to do that, and we built of his empire, but that's just it. It was his. It wasn't mine. He was a real estate developer. We built an empire there, but it wasn't what I wanted personally. fast forward, the Real Housewives of New Jersey comes into play, and obviously that is a huge platform for me. And so that's when you start to think, what can I do with this platform? How do I make it bigger? I wanted people to know me more than just family drama, which is, we're here to bring the drama and the entertainment, but I wanted people to know me for more than that. I wanted to open my own business. I had always been in love with fashion. I had always been in love with dressing people. I was the one everyone came to when, they wanted to get dressed or they needed a nice outfit. So I kind of found what I was good at, and I knew that I had to work off this platform. So it seemed a little untouchable for me at the time. I had 3 kids. I'm a wife. I'm a mom. And you say, how am I going to do this? How am I going to break into this whole other world and open a small business when I have 3 kids and I have a husband and I don't know how I'm going to do this? And at the time, I was on a reality show. But I wanted more. I wanted more, and I wanted to make it happen. And I knew that there was going to be a lot of mom guilt, and I knew that it was going to be a struggle just for Joe alone to watch me leave the house as much as I started to leave just with the reality show. And on top of it, to open a small business that I would run myself just seemed untouchable. It seemed impossible that I was going to be able to make this happen. But I definitely did not let go of the dream. I found a partner, and we opened Envy together. And then I eventually, within the year, bought her out. Right now, Envy just celebrated their 5-year anniversary, which I'm very, and we are right here in Montclair State University. How we really got it off was I obviously used my huge social media platform, which you think that's an easy thing to do, but it's not. You have to figure out ways that you have to give the people what they want. So I'm a wife, I'm a mom, I keep it fit, right? People know me for that. So you have to give them content that they want, that is relatable to them. So that was always very important to me. And what was more important is that I finally had something that was mine, that I created, and I am finally a small business owner, which, I was very, very proud of. There's also a whole nother side of me, which is a social media influencer, which is crazy lucrative. And in this day and age, who thought that Instagram is the new commercial in the world? But it is. It is. Like, I have booked Fiber One, I have booked Dove Soap, I have booked Purcell, like major brands from Instagram. And it is possible. I have seen girlfriends of mine who just decided they want to go ahead and they want to open, they want to start being an influencer, and they start putting content out there. If you're into beauty, you start putting it out there, you catch on to it, and I've seen people do amazing in it. So social media was a huge thing for me as well. But I know for a lot of you, and also let me go back to Envy for a second. We launched a huge e-commerce, envybymg.com, which was also really, really great for us and kind of took off. And during the pandemic, we suffered a little bit because we had to close Envy down, and it got a little rough. But eventually, we just kept pushing on social, and we got through those 3 months, and it was not easy, but we came back stronger than ever, and we're doing great right now. So Envy is in full swing, so I'm very happy about that. A lot of the times people think, well, it's easy for you. You have this huge platform. You're on the Real Housewives of New Jersey. Like, of course you're going to do well. But that's not true. I work really, really hard to get where I am. Nothing comes easy to me. If anything, sometimes it's worse because there's a lot of haters out there, and they're against you. They don't want to see you do well. You have to push harder, and there's always, I'm not saying everyone's a hater and that's not how it goes, but sometimes, there's reviews and they don't want to see you do well. So you have to work even harder when you're on a platform and on a show like I am to rise to the top and to stay above it all. So it wasn't luck. I worked really, really, really hard. I always say that you should surround yourself with people who want to be as successful as you are. Stay away from the slackers. And if you are around slackers, you need to motivate them to work hard and to listen to what they want. You know, if I have someone around me that I'm not having good energy with, or I feel like, you know, is not motivated, what I do in return is try to motivate them. I'm huge on giving relationship advice also. That's my thing. I love to give relationship advice. But I also motivate people. So if you're thinking about opening something, if you're thinking about reaching for something or opening a small business, go for it. Definitely do it. It was the best thing I ever had to finally have something that is mine and that I created, that I'm my own boss. And that for me was huge because Joe got to be his own boss and we created this family and this empire, but I didn't have a personal piece in it. Yes, I worked hard for him, and yes, I really wanted to, you know, make the family work and have the money and have the houses we have and have the cars we have, but I was missing something inside. I was missing personal satisfaction, which was Melissa Gorga is successful on her own at this. I did not receive any financial funds from my husband at all to open Envy. I got loans. I did it myself. I did it with my money. And I made it my own. I truly did. I even went as far as to have him help me build it out, and I paid his company for that as well because I wanted it to be all mine. I wanted it to be all mine. But yes, we just celebrated 5 years. I'm officially a boss, which I love. And I really just took the platform and created my own. And I just want to talk for 1 second about, you know, if you're nervous about something, if you're scared to go for it, if you're scared to try something new. I just had someone come to me, my agent, and I just signed a deal for something that I am extremely nervous and scared to do, which I'll let you know. I actually just signed a deal for my own podcast. Okay, so that's coming, yes. Literally signed it, I want to say like 2 days ago. So coming soon, but extremely nervous about it, insecure about it. Don't think I'm going to be very good at it. Don't know why the company wants me so bad and wants me to do it. And I'm like, I don't know. I know that this is the thing. Podcasts are another stepping stone for more, but I don't know. I just don't know if this is something I can be great at. But I see the opportunity, and I know that I need to take a chance. And someone must believe in me, right? So you have to get out there and try it. If I fail, which I may at this podcast, I might fail, but I'm going to try it and see what happens because that's the only way it works. I thought that way with Envy. I said, what if I'm another housewife who opens up a boutique? Because they all come out with something, right? And it fails. And then I'm Melissa Gorga that has that failed boutique. It could have happened, but it didn't. I worked so hard to make sure that Envy did not fail and that there was something in there for everyone. And, you know, and I have to do the same thing with this. So am I nervous about it? Yes. Am I insecure about it? Yes. It's totally out of my comfort zone, but I'm going to do it, and I'm going to give it a try. So to be continued. We'll let you know how that goes because I'm nervous about it. But, you know, when it comes to being an influencer, I do take that very seriously. It's not something where if you see me post something on my Instagram that, you know, I just post anything anyone pays me for. I don't work like that. So whatever you're doing, you need to be passionate about it. And that's what I always say. I try my best to deliver what the brands want. I always try to make sure that I understand the assignment. That's what I always try to make sure. But at the end of the day, I want to inspire other moms. I want to inspire other women who are nervous about taking chances and really stepping out of their comfort zone. I get so many DMs, so many emails, and so many messages from other moms and women like me who are hitting their 40s, who are, you know, they have the kids at home, they're raising the children, and they want more. They want to have their family, but they also want their own personal thing. Do it. Try it. If it's selling something on Instagram, if it's slowly taking a new job, you can do it all. The mom guilt definitely sets in, but you can do it, and I encourage everyone to try it. And that's really my biggest goal, is to push women to go out there and get what they want, because I never thought that I would own my own business. I always just thought I'd be the stay-at-home mom, that, my husband does well and I'm going to help him. And no, it's not satisfying. It's not. Until you have your own business and your own thing, you will not feel complete. So I always push everyone to have your own thing, no matter who you're with, who you're dating, who you're married to. Have your own thing. Super, super important. You win some, you lose some, but you do have to take that chance. I told myself that I wanted to be someone that people envy. No pun intended, but I always wanted with this platform to be goals. I did. I want to be goals. I want to be that person that has 2.3 million followers. That's a lot of followers. I have 2.3 million followers on Instagram. I have another 2 million on Facebook. I have 1 million on Twitter. That's a lot of people that I get to speak to and that I get to put my message out there. And it's very, very important to me that people know that they can go and try. I get so many questions about that. Just how did you do it? Why do you do it? How did you leave your kids? How did you do it? And it's one of those things that I have no answers. I just did it. So I do encourage for you to do that. In your own circle of friends, wherever you are, your own little circle of friends, if you have a group of 5 friends, do the same. Push them, encourage them to do it. I always say that. It does matter who you hang with and who you're around. And if you're with people who are pushing and trying, that's where you're gonna be. That's where your head's gonna be. If everyone's lazy and thinks they can't do it, you're gonna tend to fall right into that category. So I'm very much so about that. And I always say, be the person in your circle that sets goals for the rest. I mean, I truly think that when you get good at listening to yourself and at listening to your hearts, you'll be good at everything else you want. You really will. When you really start to listen to yourself and you listen to your heart, you'll be good at everything else, I promise. So listen to yourself, manifest it. Don't think anything is too far away, because it's not. Even though some things may seem untouchable, I always say to just go for it and reach for them. So I'm so proud of everyone here. Thank you so much for letting me speak with you guys today. Thank you. Thank you. I'm wearing envy also. I'll do my Thank you. This way. Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Marjorie Perry, President and CEO of MZM Construction and Management, and always been a proud advisory board member with Mimi sitting here before me. I just listened to a couple of up-and-coming entrepreneurs, and before I introduce this next guest, I think it's very important that everyone knows that your dream is your dream. And the 2 speakers previously were just amazing. I've known Bobby Brown as well for a very long time. This is my 29th year running a business, a corporation, so I know what it takes. And this next generation, you need to make sure that you not only are prepared with the idea, but you're prepared emotionally and mentally, because it's a mental game now, it's a platform game now, and your intelligence mixed with a great platform will take you wherever you have to go. So I wish you all well on that. So let's get to the business at hand here. I did look up this wonderful young lady who's about to speak. Her name is Alexandra, and Alexandra is one of those entrepreneurs to watch for the future. Alexandra considers herself a professional dream chaser, and she has solidified her place in both the business and creative world as a successful entrepreneur, author, and entertainer. If you get a chance to go online, look that up. She curates and speaks at events all through the nation. She hosts a television show, podcasts, and creates book tours for best-selling books, all titled Think Like a Boss. All while calling upon her experience in life, corporate America, and the entertainment industry to motivate and inspire individuals to think like a boss. I always say, when you think like a boss, Remember, there's all kinds of things you have to prepare for when you start thinking that way, and it's 100% accountability. She has that. And for her next challenge, and this is big, Alexandra will be opening the first Black-owned woman supermarket franchise in the tri-state area called Seneca Market. That's huge. That's huge. So without further ado, we'd please, with a big round of applause, welcome Alexandra Bernard Simmons.
Bosses, how is everyone today? Let me get that one more time. How is everyone today? All right. I like to shift the energy in the room, okay? And no, I'm not gonna stand behind this podium. I'm gonna keep walking. So, thank you so much for that introduction. 29 years in business. That is goals. Thank you. I bow to you. Thank you. So like she said, my name is Alexandra Bernard Simmons. I'm the founder of Think Like a Boss. Think Like a Boss is an international award-winning women empowerment movement. And we've done so much. We've done conferences internationally. We have a Think Like a Boss program in high schools. We also make sure we go into homeless shelters and take care of women and children there. We have a best-selling book. We have a TV show. We have a podcast. We take women on retreats all over the world, but then that all stopped. We all know what 2020 looked like, right? We lost so much. We lost some people that we loved. We lost doing things that we loved, and we almost lost ourselves. And the big word that's been going around is pivot. Pivot, pivot, pivot. All I think about is Ross in that episode of Friends with the Couch, I swear. This is the word, the buzzword that's been going on in 2021. And that's okay. We've all been pivoting. But one thing I've always been asking people, are you still pivoting into authenticity? Because when they're telling you to pivot, it's usually pivot towards the money or pivot towards, reading the room and making sure you know, are you pivoting into your true authentic self? There was 3 particular pivots that I had to do in 2020. The first one was pivoting into things that matter. When you're an entrepreneur or a public figure, you're always running around and you're speaking here, you're hosting this, you're doing that, right? But when all of that was taken away, I realized how important human-to-human interaction was. I don't care how robust technology becomes, it will never take away the interaction between people. So that was one of the things that mattered to me. Like, wow, I really love what I do. And it's really important to take these things serious because you never know when it's going to be taken away. But even so, when we focus on the things that matter, when the world stood still, we realize that that job will replace you, right? We realize that that relationship that you were staying in when you were running around and using your life as a distraction is actually not working. You realize that you don't know your children as much as you think you do because they're spending so much time in school and now you have to look at them face to face. There are so many things that matter that we were not paying attention to until they were all ripped away. So, we have to understand that we need to focus on the things that matter because that is your story. And that is also your why when it comes to business. What is your why? And when you figure out what matters, when you figure out your why, then you can work on your branding because that is your story. A lot of entrepreneurs struggle with branding because they cannot find their voice. They cannot find their authentic selves. And literally, your brand is your authentic self shining through your business. If you do not know what matters, if you do not know your story, how are you going to capture your target audience? Right? So it was a pivot into things that mattered. Now I actually say no a lot. I said yes to you guys, though, and I'm here. But there's a lot of no's that happen because guess what? One thing that I realized is, oh my God, time is so precious. All that running around for what? When we finally got the chance to sit still, we realized that our body kind of liked that a little bit. Rest is a luxury, and we should be doing that more often. So once I pivoted into the things that matter most, the second pivot came into pivoting into my lane. And I say that because, again, people were pivoting into things that's not even you, right? You're over here sewing masks because you hear that people need masks, so now we're learning how to sew masks so we can sell masks. Do you like sewing masks? Do you understand? People were making hand sanitizers. You ever use a hand sanitizer and it smelled kind of funny? Like, what did you put in here, my darling? Is this what you do? Or were you trying to just pivot into making money for that time? So everything in our journey matters. Everything that we've learned, everything that we are matters. So I was in, 2020, and I'm also a mother, right? And I'm just looking at where schools are going. Got a little messy. September was around the corner. They didn't know if the kids were going to go to school. The teachers were afraid they were going to get COVID. Parents are stressed out. The children lost their normalcy. And I was just at home, just looking at everything, because it started to bother me, right? Because we also went into a she session. Do you know what that is, a she session? A lot of women had to stay home and lose their jobs because they had to stay home with their children. That was a she session. And what do? Women empowerment, right? We take care of women. So I was looking at everything, and I dug down into who I was. Alexandra, you actually have an education degree. I have a degree in communications, obviously, right? And I did take that route, but I love children so much. And that's why I always make sure that there's space for children. That's why we had the Think Like a Boss program that's in schools to teach high schoolers how to become entrepreneurs before they graduate. And the date was August 5th. And I was just sitting in my home, looking at all the issues that's going on, looking at the skills that I know I have, but may have put it in the back burner, right? Because life gets so busy. You forget that some of the things that you're good at because you're so focused on where you are right now. And then I had a conversation with my mother. This was the last thing. My mother said, I am so tired of working for other people. I would love to open my own daycare one day. That was my aha moment. I had from August 5th to September 8th to open this child care center. And in 1 month, we were sold out in 24 hours. 24 hours. When I released the news, and the Boss Child Care was formed. This was for virtual learning for school-age children. It started off as a home-based child care, right? I had to look through all the rules. And then it got so big that I had to get a smaller space in order to accommodate these children. But on top of that, once I learned how it worked, this is very important, because if your dreams only include you, they're not big enough. Once I learned how that worked, I went to other mothers that were stuck at home to help them build their child care centers at home as well. So now we had multiple small locations that were helping with children in their virtual learning. So we were like the liaisons between the parents and the schools. And Miss Alex knows how to have fun, honey. We had Halloween parties, okay? For Thanksgiving, we were making cupcakes. We were just giving these children some type of normalcy. So through the pandemic, they don't just remember wearing these masks, they remember going to play and having this amazing time with Miss Alex and her staff. It was July and they were still calling me to try to come over. I'm like, no, honey, no, beloved. It's summertime, you stay home, right? But that is the type of impact when you pivot in your lane and you know who you are. Lastly, the last pivot that I did, pivot into silence. Pivot into silence. That pandemic was a paradigm shift for the collective. I was actually in a double pandemic. Yes, COVID was here and that virus was running rampant, but the virus of racism was thrown at us so hard when we were all at home sitting still, because everything is now being recorded, correct? I became so overwhelmed with this double pandemic that I was sitting in. And one thing that the pandemic brought out was spirituality and taking care of your mental health. And I'm so familiar in that space. So I do meditate. That's something that I've been doing since I was 20 years old. But that day I was crying. I was very overwhelmed. And right before I went into meditation, I was like, what am I supposed to be doing right now? What is the answer? So when I pivoted into that silence, in my meditation, my grandmother came to me and she said, you have to handle the food, Alex. I came out of the meditation, I was like, I know she's not asking me to cook because that is not me. She must have been mistaken. So I took this vision to my mom. My mother was like, oh, did you know that grandma had a grocery store back at home? I was like, oh my God, that's it. So in 2020, I decided to take on a huge project to become the first owner, Black owner, woman owner of a supermarket franchise. And I decided to name it Seneca Market after the first thriving Black city that was torn down to build Central Park. And I named it that in particular because it shows the struggle that we have as people of color trying to get ahead. And having a supermarket is such an essential space that we usually do not play in. So I wanted to make sure that I can give this gift that keeps on giving for generations. Not only will it be a legacy builder for me, but now that's going to become a franchise. So we'll open it in other communities of color, employing more people in the community, sourcing from people of color, farmers, entrepreneurs. The list just keeps going. Is it inclusive? Absolutely. But we're giving voices for the voiceless. We're putting shelf space for the people that never were able to get into the stores before. And this is going to be something that keeps on giving. And that's how I pivoted within the silence. So you always have to know who you are. Listen to your heart to find out what you want to do and what you should be doing. The answers are within you. We have to pivot in authenticity and be grounded in integrity. It's not always about money. How many celebrities need to kill themselves or continue to take drugs to let you understand that fulfillment is the new success, not money? One last thing. as a child, I always knew who I was. And my favorite flower is the sunflower. So one thing about the sunflower that people do not know, it goes through this process called heliotropism. Heliotropism is when the sunflower follows the sun throughout the day. So you will actually see the sunflower turning to always face the sun. So I always say, in a room of roses, I would rather be a sunflower because I know where the light is, and I know what my why is, and I know what my purpose is. And I'm always going to choose purpose over popularity. Thank you so much.
Hello, everybody. We hope that you are enjoying our event so far. Thank you so much for joining us today. Can we just get another quick round of applause for the amazing speakers that we've seen so far? I know personally, I am just blown away. So we're going to take a quick 10, 15-minute break. For those of you joining us on the live stream, please don't go too far. We have some amazing speakers still to come, and you don't want to miss them. And for those of us joining live here today, just a heads up, there are refreshments and restrooms located in the lobby. So we'll see you back here in 10, 15 minutes. Thank you so much.
Hello, my name is Eileen Wachs, President of Horizon Casualty Services, Inc., of Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey, and Advisory Board member of the Feliciano Center for Entrepreneurship and Innovation at Montclair State University. And welcome to the 8th Annual Women Entrepreneurship Week event at Montclair State University. Since its inception in 2014, Horizon has been a proud supporter of Women Entrepreneurship Week. As this year's community sponsor, we are thrilled to be joined by participants from around the globe as we pay tribute to women entrepreneurs and the amazing resilience they have shown over the past year and a half as they navigate the vast uncertainties of these challenging times. We hope that you find community and connection through the stories you hear today. We are so happy you have joined us as we celebrate Women Entrepreneurship Week 2021. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Eileen. You are such a great partner for us. Welcome back, everybody. I hope you can all hear me. We are so excited to kick off the second half of our program, but before we do, I just quickly wanted to introduce myself. My name is Liz Rich, and I am the Acting Director of the Feliciano Center for Entrepreneurship and Innovation here at Montclair State. Yes, yes. So as an interesting side note, I started at the center 2 weeks before COVID hit. So needless to say, my time here has been very surreal, but it has also been extremely special. And, I think it's because of the tough circumstances that we've all been in, and it has really brought us together in a meaningful way, and I might start crying, but it has been a really, really a gift to work here. Especially during this time. Over the past 19 months, I have seen students who have never given up on their big idea or their amazing dream, despite all the roadblocks that are in front of them. They just don't give up, and that is amazing. I've also seen small business owners in our community who have been working tirelessly day and night. They're constantly pivoting, constantly having to reinvent themselves just to keep the lights on. And to me, seeing this has really inspired me. It's really impacted me, and frankly, it's changed my life. I think that I can speak for the rest of the team here when I say that moving forward, we want to be, as a center, super intentional about the role that we're going to fill in this ecosystem that we find ourselves in now. I would love for us to be that safe place for students to land and for community members to come to find that support and the tools and that sense of community and networking that we are all going to need going forward out of this. So we made this quick video that you're going to see to tell you a little bit about who we are and what we do, and hopefully to just inspire you to reach out to us or continue reaching out to us for a lot of you, so that we can continue building things together and collaborating and innovating as a community. It's so important. We are so grateful for you guys being here today. So thank you. So I like to think of the Feliciano Center as less of a place and more of a space where people's entrepreneurial mindsets and their innovative ideas can really take root and grow. In addition to that, we also want to give our students and our community members the practical tools and the knowledge that they can then use to take their business from an idea into an actual business.
I am the chef and founder of Solo's Food. I come up with the menus, I cook the food, I do the marketing promos, and everything that a business needs, I am the go-to woman. I discovered the Feliciano Center of Entrepreneurship and Innovation at a pitch competition informational session. I was drawn because I saw how much of a support system and community surrounded this, and I wanted to be a part. The attention to their students is something that I've never experienced anywhere else. Being around other like-minded individuals helps you to be greater and to have a better business.
My name is Jason Frasca. I'm co-director of the MIX Lab, our Innovation Research Center in the Feliciano Center for Entrepreneurship in the Feliciano School for Business at Montclair State University. The Feliciano Center for Entrepreneurship and Innovation is a resource for our students and community at large. We're a bridge. We connect these students to the community through educational resources, workshops, events, and we're happy to provide, resources and support just as we do with our students.
I discovered the Feliciano Center for Entrepreneurship and Innovation when I decided to enter into the 2020 Montclair State Pitch Competition. By winning the Females Founders Prize, I was awarded $25,000 and mentorship through the Feliciano School of Business. I wanted to do something to combat the food waste issue in America. Through their help, we've been able to pivot our product and make it more about the farmer instead of taking our fruit from supermarkets.
I say this all the time to students who have ideas or are really interested, that the key to being a great innovator and a great entrepreneur isn't how good your initial idea is, but how much you're engaged in the process. And what we teach is the process, and what we mentor is the process. And the really important thing is to just begin, to engage, to experiment, and to have that kind of ethos and approach. And we're really here for you on whatever path you want to take.
My name's Alteric Banks, the founder and design principal of Homa Studios, a design studio making daily dining essentials and home decor accessories. The Feliciano Center for Entrepreneurship and Innovation really helped me think, not just focusing on the small, but what's the larger, what's the bigger picture.
I discovered the Feliciano Center for Entrepreneurship and Innovation when I had transferred into Montclair State University. Being in the center and being around all these people with different perspectives and ideas, it really challenges you in a way that is really similar to how the real world challenges you. The Feliciano Center is the most underrated place on Montclair State University's campus. Professors want to support you, and the students want to help each other as well. I can't speak highly enough of how supportive the team is here, and the culture that they've bred here is just really incredible.
Thank you. So exciting to hear from a lot of our students and how we've impacted their lives and they've impacted ours. So thank you. So up next, I'm so excited to introduce Dr. Ethne Swartz, a full professor here at the Department of Management and a Fulbright Scholar and the founder of Carpe Art. So welcome, Ethne.
Thank you, Liz. And I want to give a shout out to Liz because she really was the glue that kept us together this last year. So thank you. And so I am introducing a local entrepreneur, Rachel Groshowski, and she is an award-winning architect and designer and a seeker of truth in all things, especially in herself. Since she founded her Montclair, New Jersey-based firm, RHG Architecture and Design, in 2003, her personal and professional mission has been to help people create spaces that are authentically theirs. For Rachel, design is a journey and a collaboration. She guides others towards environments that make them feel grounded in their histories and inspired to grow into their futures. Her diverse body of work spans both residential and commercial projects throughout the U.S. She's been recognized by the Urban Land Institute for Sustainable Development and has been awarded gold and silver LEED certifications for her work. In 2019, she was named one of the top 25 leading women entrepreneurs in New Jersey. Rachel is also a certified yoga teacher, yay, and a dedicated yoga student. She lives in Montclair with her 3 daughters and 2 cats, Kermit and Snuffleupagus, which I think is just the most amazing name. So let's welcome Rachel.
Thank you. It's so nice to be here today celebrating women's entrepreneurship. And here at Montclair State, the cornerstone of our community, and a school that's very much where, like the university I went to school, which is very interesting because 2 of the universities within the program were up on the screen earlier today. University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee, where not only did the education, but also the community gave me the tools and the skills and the confidence to not just step into my career, but into entrepreneurship. And I moved to Montclair 15 years ago and have been raising, as was already mentioned, my children here. I was drawn to this town because of the incredible interest in the arts, as well as the diversity and the sense and commitment to community. As I've been developing my business here, I've been getting deeper and deeper involved in community organizations like Montclair Film Festival, Luna Stage, Jazz House Kids, and lots of others. My kids' schools, of course, we all dive into those roles. And I realized that those core values is something that I got from my grandfather. He was an entrepreneur himself in Green Bay, Wisconsin, and he had a hardware store and a construction company. And in his spare time, he was involved not just in his church, but also in environmental organizations, as well as a variety of public positions in the township, working with economic development and underprivileged individuals, where he mentored until a couple of years ago when he passed away at the age of 92. Oh, wait. Sorry, I thought we were already there. And so while RHG Architecture and Design is my primary business, I am also an artist and an artisan. And so I have a product line, a housewares product line called Felt, that is hand-sewn products, a furniture line called Legend, which is made out of reclaimed wood. And as I mentioned, I'm also an artist. I had my first solo art show here in Montclair in 2018 at Gallery Vault 491, which also happens to be a building that I did the interior architecture for, as well as just last week moved my entire team to our new double-sized office space. And so I'm very passionate about this topic, the art of intentional living, and how design infuses connection, presence, and purpose into our lives through our environments. As we look to the future, we're seeing people's priorities shift. We're interested in environments that affect our wellness, support our day-to-day living, bring us into the present moment. Not just for ourselves, but for our families, our communities, and those that we work with. Creating spaces that create calm and interconnectedness. During the pandemic, many of us have had a lot of time to think about how we want to live our lives and what our values are. And I think that's been talked about a lot today, coming back to who we are. And for me, it's coming back to the root of who I have always been, and I've always known myself to be, but sometimes we forget that, like we kind of go down another path. And for me, it's that the built environment has always affected my physical well-being and my mental well-being. And that when we create spaces, we need to keep that in mind. I think this is true for everyone. It's a matter of taking a pause. Again, coming back to the present moment and noticing what surrounds us. That could be the beautiful flower that's growing in the garden unexpectedly, or it could be a detail in architecture and design. In yoga, we talk about stilling the fluctuations of the mind. And when I translate that into architecture and design, I think about it as choosing the elements, the details that are intended to gain our attention, to bring us into focus. Everything else becomes the background. It becomes the canvas. And when we have that moment and that awareness, we come into this point, we realize joy, peace, and gratitude. When I think back to my childhood, my memories are sensory. They're about what it felt like to be in a specific space, a reaction I had to a color or a smell. And so, as a child, I spent a lot of time in nature. And I remember one time walking through the forest in northern Wisconsin. And as I walked over the mounds in the earth, I learned that those were Native American burial grounds. And somehow I intuitively understood that the people who were buried there were connected to the earth and nature, and that it was full of magic, and I agreed. And from that time, I always felt like a gentle curve was a reminder of the thin veil between the past, the present, and the future. The matter and ethereal, physical and spiritual, and the interconnectedness of it all. In elementary school, I lived in Wheat Ridge, Colorado, a suburb of Denver. I went to what would be considered a progressive public school. And we had no doors and no walls in our classrooms. They were divided by bookshelves on casters. And somehow, that detail made us feel a sense of community and understanding that our friend was just over the bookshelf and that we were all one. We also had an area, now this is not actually it, but it represents the idea. We had an area called the Pit. It was where we were brought together as a community to have serious conversations. Conversations that required a level of intimacy and authenticity. It always reminded me of how in nature, the physical environment protected us, created this sense of safety. And when I traveled to Peru and I visited the ancient farming formations, I was reminded of this feeling from my classroom, this sense of community, of coming together, this sense that we were all looking out for each other and working as a team. We can create this in our architecture and design today, in details like creating small rooms, spaces that hug us, that create a sense of intimacy, again, like reading rooms and nooks. When I went back to my architectural studies, I was thinking about the foundation of architecture, the fact that initially structure, again, was about protecting us, but when creativity and design came into it, it was about getting closer to God. It could be a cathedral, it could be a stupa, a temple, or even a cave. It was meant to inspire us, focus us, and bring us into our best selves. My current day-to-day life, I do things like meditate. That might be walking around the block without looking at my phone. It might be sitting for 20 minutes. I practice yoga where I can come into my body and really pay attention to the sensations and the experience so that when I'm in relationship or in a space, I know how I'm actually feeling. I cook with local foods and place them on handmade pottery to remind me of all the effort and love that goes into creating and making everything that we consume. I bring handmade and artisan quality products into my home to remind me that we all have intrinsic value and that everybody's effort contributes to the whole. I bring natural fibers and found objects like branches and stones into my home. When I'm working with clients, I ask them, how do they want to feel? Whether it's their office or their home, or how do they want their clients to feel? And I choose my clients who have similar values, like Ruthie's Barbecue, who has recently bought this farm. This is a warehouse on the property, which will be a grain milling location for local regional grains. And partner with organizations like Jazz House Kids, where they create experiences like the Montclair Jazz Festival, which closed down Bloomfield Avenue and brought thousands of people to Montclair, not just creating community, but also creating an opportunity to support the local businesses. So we can do all of these things. We can living and designing with intention is the future, and it's the past. We can do all of these things and create spaces that care for our mind, our body, and our relationships, making design spiritual. Thank you.
Muy buenas tardes. Bienvenidos a Montclair State University. Indulge me for just a second. I'm Dr. Katia Paz-Goldfarb. I'm the Associate Provost for Hispanic Initiatives and International Programs here at Montclair State University. Thank you. And indulge me for a second for me to give you one line of my relationship with the center, which is sometimes not as out there as we would like, but one of the ways it is to see ourselves as people who have been working in academia. I'm not going to tell you for how many years right now, see ourselves as still people that can create and be in different spaces. So that is something that the center has allowed me. And the other things that I would like to mention, it is the intentionality of the center in creating the spaces for underrepresented people, underrepresented groups, underrepresented everything, ages, gender, as we are seeing today, but also as people that sometimes are not in the front of businesses, of feeling successful. Okay, of being identified as successful people. So I think that maybe these are things that sometimes we don't share, but since I have the stage, I wanted to make that a really important point. So now to my job here, okay? It is my pleasure to introduce Mónica Martinez Milan. Monica is a wife, mother, and entrepreneur. I also cannot spell it. I was really Bobby Brown, I have to say that, okay? Owning several businesses with her husband, Stampy's Hatchet House of Greenbrook, Brooklyn, and designed to open in Hudson County, as well as a location in Florida coming in 2022. She's also the co-owner of Elmsgate, LLC, and Tidal Group, LLC, real estate development companies. Owning several businesses and working in the corporate sector for over 16 years has given her tremendous insight on strategic planning, customer service, and the important perspective of needs of the small Latinx business owner. Professionally, Monica has achieved considerable success over the last 2 decades, but it did not come easy. Born in Newark, New Jersey, and a first-generation child of immigrants, she can relate to the challenges that many businesses owners face today. After a couple of decades in the corporate world and a survivor of almost crippling disease, she decided to leave corporate America and open Stampy's Hatchet House in Greenbrook with her husband and 2 young children. Her dream was to offer a space that allows all people to relieve stress and forget about their everyday worries. Stampy's of Greenbrook has become one of the top hatchet throwing venues in the country. In 2020, the statewide Hispanic Chamber of Commerce of New Jersey appointed Monica as a board member, where she actively served the Latinx familia. She's also a board leader of corporate and social responsibility for Latina Search National, and the county level, the Somerset County Business Partnership and Somerset County Board of Chosen Freeholders appointed Monica as a task force member to support the Economic, Business, and Recovery Task Force for Somerset County during 2020. And is also a member of the Minority Business Leaders Roundtable for Somerset County, New Jersey, where she helps to foster relationships in our community, connecting and supporting fellow business owners with the resources they need to succeed. Maintaining a healthy and positive mindset and paying it forward is Monica's daily practice and the key to her success. Please join me in welcoming Monica Martinez Milan.
Thank you so much, Katia. Thank you, Montclair State, and all of the guests that are here and watching worldwide. I really appreciate the introduction. And my purpose is because I don't want the small businesses to die. So it's what ignites me and it's what keeps me going. And my husband keeps telling me, are you sure you're gonna sign up for are you doing that? Are you sure? And somehow the universe makes time in my life to make the time to help our community. All right. So I'm gonna use a presentation because this photo, this flower came to me a few months ago. And I was in our garden, in our backyard, and I see this beautiful little flower surviving on her own. There were others in planters and growing everywhere, but she was on the cement or the pavers and surviving. So I was cheering her on. I was like, oh my gosh, you remind me so much of my colleagues, myself, our children, especially during these unforeseen times. You're just like, you're the example. So I started to cheer her on. I'm like, you're not alone. You're doing this alone. You look like you're alone, but you're not alone. So I'm sure you could all relate to that. So what do you see when you see that flower? What did you see? What did you feel? So we attract who we are. We're in a room here. We're all divinely aligned. We're all sharing a purpose. We're all inspiring each other and cheering each other on, not just in this room, but globally. And that is what I'm attracted to and attracts me to fellow people like you. She's an outside of the box thinker. So that's what I've always been, even as a kid. I might not have been on this earth. I think I was like floating around in my own little world, but I was that out of the box thinker. She taught me how to trust, or I'm trusting her to stay alive. I'm trusting her. I am putting a little pressure on her. We visit her, I was just there today, making sure she was still there. And it's okay if she decides to go one day. It's just the process that we all have to take in our journey. Knowing, I know she's there, she knows I'm there, and my husband is there, and now she has a whole room full of cheerleaders cheering her on. She's making the impossible possible. So we all do that every day. We make the impossible possible, especially the small business owners here in our community that had to make the impossible possible somehow. We had to figure out how were we going to survive during the toughest of days. And she's focused and gives life new potential. So some fun facts about me. I am a first generation. I'm a daughter of immigrants. I did not learn how to speak English until I was in, who knows, second grade or some, but I was born here. I was born in New Jersey, a daughter of immigrants and entrepreneurs. My family that came to this country, they all had a dream. They wanted to pursue owning a business. Now, we were smaller entrepreneurs. We didn't own corporations. We worked within the community where we landed, or where our, the ships brought us over, my ancestors, and that's where we helped our community. We came up with solutions for the needs of the people. So I grew up in Newark and in Kearney. My parents worked 3 jobs, countless jobs. I was a latchkey kid. They didn't know, that's what they knew. They knew that they were here to have a better life. Where they lived, they were someone, but it wasn't enough. So they had professions, they had a life where they lived. They came here, everything was erased. The people that they thought they were, what the world perceived them to be, wasn't who they were in their country. They were almost like, I don't want to say nothing, but that's the word that comes to me. They had to figure it out and reinvent themselves, learn how to speak English, assimilate in the community. So they had a tough time, and so did we. I had a younger sister that I helped to take care of, or annoyed for a long time. But I had to survive. I had to live with babysitters while my parents worked until 7, 8 o'clock at night. And I know a lot of you can share or feel somewhat of a similar story. But they had a vision. They were very strict. They wanted me to go to college. They didn't know how I was going to go to college. They didn't care. I'm like, Mom, I need your help. How do you help me study? I don't know. Figure it out. So I said, I went through a hard time. I went through a lot of abuse being a latchkey kid. I grew up in an area that didn't welcome, at that time, this was a long time ago, immigrants. They didn't like the people that didn't speak English, some people of color. So I endured a lot as a young kid, not being from that area or being from this country. So I decided I'm going to study sociology and psychology. I think that it'll help me figure things out for myself. And little did I know that in studying in that field, I needed to pursue it further and get a master's, but I couldn't at the time. I had to stop and work. My parents couldn't afford it at the time, and I didn't know that there were opportunities out there to try to get additional help. We just didn't know. We grew up in a silent generation. We kept quiet, and you just do what you got to do, and you'll figure it out at some point. But I realized through my years that I could apply what I studied everywhere, right? So I worked in corporate for 16 years. I applied that psychology and sociology with everyone I worked with, because we all need therapists and we all need help. I learned working at my parents' business, they did eventually, after working so many jobs, pursue opening a business in Newark. And as I think I was like 6, 7, 8 through my 20s, used to work at their business and help them out and the community. So I learned how to speak Portuguese as my third language, and all the Portuguese ladies in the community adopted me as their, my mom's customers. But I learned so much. I learned how to survive through those years. And then fast forward, I worked in corporate installing telecommunications networks throughout the world. So I studied sociology and psychology, but somehow my journey took me to work in a large corporation helping to implement networks. I had to work really, really hard. I had no idea at that time like what I did, but I followed mentors. I worked nonstop, and I was able to do it. I was able to implement and support customers as a liaison. Also, one fun fact, and it's not fun, but what was fun was that we helped restore service for the families that were affected during 9/11. I was on those teams to implement a network when everybody was taken out during Ground Zero, and we implemented satellite dishes within a week, less than a week's time, and that was an impossible task, but we made it happen. So I loved my career, but what happened to me, here's my mom. This is my mom. She's my everything. My dad is also my everything. But what happened to me was that I wasn't fulfilling myself. I wasn't recovering from a lot of the abuse, a lot of the stuff that I endured as a kid. That kind of, it was post-traumatic stress. It always revolved in my mind, and I didn't know how to clear it. No matter how much I studied, I didn't know how to clear it. So I hit rock bottom. I had to hit rock bottom. I'm one of those people that has to get thrown off a plane and the parachute's not working in order to like crash and burn and learn from it. Really, really, really hard lessons. That's what I looked like after I was burnt out. That's what I looked like when I felt like I had no one, no resources, no help. I had to do it on my own. I had to peel the layers of my life and everything and strip myself to nothing and connect. I was on my hands and knees praying. As they mentioned, I was hit with a crippling disease. So I had to, it was a journey, and it was something that I'm so blessed to have experienced. Because with that, that's where I became illuminated. When I was on my hands and knees, when I was praying, when I was asking God for help, when I felt like I had nothing and no one, and I had little kids to take care of, and a husband to take care of, and a job to take care of. But I had to feel like I almost like lost it all in order to begin to rebuild myself. It's multifaceted. Healing is multifaceted. It's not just one thing. It's like a diamond. It has layers, an onion. You have to peel them piece by piece. But how you feel is valid. I felt that way, and now I look back at it, and I used to try to get justification from others. What's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? They might not have seen it, but I knew there was something there. So how you feel is valid. You don't have to crash and burn like I did. It doesn't have to be a massive tragedy, but work on those little pieces of your life. Work on them piece by piece, and it'll get you to where you're wanting to be, because part of the journey is that, and know that there is hope. So I'm not perfect. The picture next to it shows me posing for a headshot. I'm not perfect. I still learn. I still go through the struggles. But the journey of transformation and manifestation, it seems that what seems like the end is nothing but a new beginning in disguise. So what seemed like the end for me, I didn't see myself living past the age of 50. I really didn't. Doctors didn't think that either at the time. It's just the beginning. So what worked for me was to let go. Let go. How did I let go? And forgive. So I stopped asking why. Now you heard from Alex the word why. She used it in a different way. I stopped asking why. I stopped eliminating stagnation. So I started to take action, and that's part of my secret sauce, is eliminating stagnation. It could be cleaning your room, clearing your car. It is anything, moving and energy, creating that energy to eliminate stagnation, which will leave you into pivoting. We all pivot. I've pivoted since I was a child. It's just a term that has been used now with what we've had to endure, but we've all pivoted. We're always pivoting. So I carried this mentality like, oh, I'm the Spanish kid from Newark. I'm all alone. I'm less. I'm inferior. I had a teacher in 5th grade sit me and a few of my friends of color and a few people in the last row of the classroom. We were in the last row. Everyone else had first, second, third row. We were all the way at the end. And here I am standing today. So I had to eliminate that stagnation. I had to work on that. I had to fight to believe in myself somehow to get to where I am. Always a strategic thinker. So as a kid, I only knew how to get by every day because I had to figure out how am I going to survive. My parents were amazing people. They did everything they could. They just didn't know what I was dealing with. Growing up in a silent generation, we didn't really speak of much of the bad things. So I just had to learn, how do I get by today? My parasympathetic system was going haywire. And then I carried that victim mentality through the years. When I got burnt out, I had that. But I kept asking, like, why does this happen to me? Why? Why me? Why am I being punished? Why am I the only one? Why is everyone else advancing? Why am I the only one? That why creates disconnect. So I started to realize through the journey that I had to scratch that why out and replace it with what. What can I do? That's where the strategic thinking kicks in and the pivoting starts to take shape and the eliminating the stagnation. So I don't ask why anymore. I work on ways to be connected. I lost everything to rebuild myself, but I learned that we have to collaborate and help others in order to break that stagnation and replace that why with what. What can I do to get to where I want to be? What should I be working on tomorrow? What is the plan for action? What? So this is just a recap. The personal transformation and manifestation is I had to hit rock bottom. You don't have to hit rock bottom. Just start taking those steps. Remember that stagnation. If you're going to leave with something, leave with that in your mind. Eliminate stagnation. How do I do it? Cleaning out your closet, working on stuff at home helps you also. It's not just work. It's not just school. You have to continue to move. The spirituality, nature, and gratitude for me is everything. I didn't carry it before when I had to work on survival. I didn't have a lot of that. I didn't know where it was. But what served me then no longer serves me today. So I have to remind myself to connect with nature. I have to remind myself to be grateful every day because that's what you attract. If you're attracting, why this, why that, this is horrible, guess what's going to happen? You have a little hat with a little antenna, and that's what the universe is going to send you. But if you change it and you connect, walk outside. There are trees everywhere, even in New York. Touch a tree. I do that. I don't care what people say. I do it. I need to ground myself. But carry that with you. And community. Community, we had it growing up as a kid. It was a different kind of community where we all worked together in ways. But the community I'm talking about is way bigger than that. Like this is a community here. The community beyond this. We have to work together. That's something that I took away from the pandemic. So this is what my business looks like. I went from hitting rock bottom to recovering, and the opportunity came to open up a hatchet throwing business. So to teach people how to hold a hatchet and throw a hatchet was like, I thought God was playing a joke on me. But I realized that, wow, it's a tool. I use the hatchet as a tool to help let go. Just think of how much anxiety we all carry every day. And my team feels amazing when they have our customers walk in also, because I tell them all the time, that person may have lost their mother last week, or they may have lost their job, or they're struggling. They're coming through the door for an hour or two to just let go. So let's help them. Sometimes they don't even realize that they're letting go, but we know they are. So I didn't allow stagnation to shut me down. We were closed for almost 5 months. We're a brick and mortar business. But my pivot was to not stop. So inside, behind the scenes, we revamped our venue. We worked on things that we could control. I couldn't spend thousands of dollars, but we did what we could to keep the place going because I wanted our customers to know that we were going to reopen. It was just a temporary shut down, but we were going to reopen. So pivoting, what did we do? So I aligned with community. I joined forces with the statewide Hispanic Chamber, with Latina Surge National, worked a lot with the NJEDA. I was everywhere. I just wanted to be a lighthouse to the people of my community that were struggling. I wanted them to see my face. I wanted them to know that I was there to help them to get access to capital, whatever it is, because especially in the Hispanic community, we have a bigger chance of overcoming poverty if we own a micro business, a business. It doesn't have to be a 20-person business. It could be a 2-person business. We have a chance to overcome poverty. So I even helped, competitors started calling me, asking me for insight. Like, hey, how did you do this? How did you do this? And I didn't shut the door on them. I helped them. I wanted to help them because I know that if they die, we all end up shriveling up and dying, and that is not going to happen under my watch. So I helped them, and it made me feel so good. I know that the universe is going to return it 10 times in our direction. We embraced change, so we maintained a positive attitude. Don't allow anything to stop the light, even during the unforeseen circumstances. And we took action, so we were highly involved. I was highly involved in the community, and I'm so grateful for it. That was my pivot. Like, I can't do anything at my business, but I can help others. Nothing is going to stop me from doing that. So take it all as an opportunity and not a crisis. Everything happens for a reason. Everything. We've learned so much. Everything happens for a reason. So change the why to what. You are not alone. How do you give back? Think of ways, how do you give back? Even if you can't give back with financially, what can you do? That little micro step that you have to take. What can you do to vibrate higher? Go outside and connect with a tree. Connect your feet on earth. Ground yourself. It's very important to do that, especially now. Discover your tribe, because we have to work on that. We have to have our tribe of people that encourage us and support us as we encourage them and support them. And if there are those that cannot support you, that's okay. You just move them out to a little layer, outside of that. You see that little bullseye there? My circle of trust is in the middle, and then I realign the folks that help me or that cannot help me. That's okay. It's like, I call it a corporate restructure within my own self. So work on that. If that's off balance in your life, work on that. And what will you do to eliminate stagnation? Walk out of here thinking that, what am I going to do today? Or what am I going to do tomorrow? So how could I help? I'm involved with several chambers here in New Jersey, Latina Surge National, the statewide Hispanic Chamber, Somerset County Business Partnership, network. If you're a student here, network. That's where it's going to be. It's not just, it's studying, obviously, getting good grades and respecting your school and your teachers and everything, but you have to network, you have to do that. And that helps to break that stagnation. And come up with strategies, small, large, just keep moving. That is my lesson for the day. So to finalize it, I had to die first in order to find the real me, and I'm extremely grateful for the pain of the journey, as there's always a lesson to be learned from it. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. How are these amazing speakers? Is everyone feeling inspired and excited? My name is Jez DeSeo. I am an MSU alum, and I am the founder of the Joy Roadie. You could check out my stuff right outside. I am so excited to introduce our next speaker. Her name is Rachel Meng Brown. She was recently named NYC's top 20 in their 20s, and it seems she hasn't looked back since then. She is the sole proprietor of the Legacy brand, and that consults athletes, nonprofits, and brands on how to build and leverage their personal brand for generational wealth. Rachel has recently co-founded the Loot Agency, LLC, along with notable Gen Z innovators and social media influencers, where she oversees everything from brand deals to strategic development. Rachel is living proof that, Rachel is living proof that any time is a good time to start a business. So everyone, please give a round of applause for Rachel Mang Brown.
Thank you. Thank you guys so much for having me here, and even all the students that are here as well. Thank you for being here to hear our stories. So again, my name is Rachel Mang. I am the co-founder of Loot Agency. So what I wanted to kind of talk to you guys about today is crazy faith. And this isn't like a speech about spirituality and like anything kind of in that realm. I know like the topic kind of, oof. But I want to talk a little bit more about my journey. Really for me, the best way that I feel I can educate, inspire, and motivate is really just talking about what I've done. I was in this seat in an auditorium listening to speakers and just hearing other founders and female entrepreneurs' story a very short time ago. So I want to start off by, this is the main theme of what I want to talk about. And this is really the question that I asked myself only a few years ago. What if the only thing you needed to do today to change the trajectory of your legacy was vision and belief in yourself? So this question is going to kind of go throughout the whole presentation. So this is a big like question that we have to talk about. And this is kind of how I'm going to go through the intro, the question you just saw, the journey, and it might seem out of order, but then I want to talk about who I am and my takeaway and really my call to action for any students that are watching. So when I talk about the journey, the reason why I really want to talk about it is because, like, again, I'm someone that I only talk about things that I've experienced in. I only talk about things that I've done and that I know are really proven ways of things to do to be successful or even to get to your long-term vision. So this is the journey I'm going to talk about for my time from 2015 all the way to 2021 today, what I'm doing today, and really my whole core and motivational idea of how I got here. So to start off with, I'm going to kind of run through, and I know that my introduction was a little bit more about like what I've done, but I want to kind of show all the different logos and all the different things that I did to get to this point. So to start with, I was at the PGA Tour in marketing and social media back in 2015. I did a number of things between just being at the actual PGA Tour, which is a really cool experience that I got to do. Then I actually made a big jump, another big name. I went to the 2016 Olympics. I worked with US Rowing based out of New Jersey, down in Princeton. I actually got to be part of the compliance team, part of the international and domestic logistics team for US Rowing. So I actually got to work with the athletes that went to the Olympics. I ran compliance on the Zika virus, which was like, as you know with COVID, that was like my first introduction to anything like disease related. I did another special project called the Life After Sports program, which was really about the idea that there are a lot of athletes that even today with professional athletes, they go through this whole lifetime of just being so focused and so much vision and belief into actually getting to your end goal that you don't really see the career aspects. Like we don't really know how to integrate ourselves back into like regular life. So the next job I had was with Insider Score. I was a data manager. There's definitely a lot to be said for people who know how to code. If you don't know how to code, I would definitely say learn a little bit about that. Then I went on to Sponsor United, which is actually a startup in itself. So this was really my first experience with an actual startup. And what I did was input a lot of sponsorship data, and that data was used across the industry to kind of collect and track where all these sponsorships, and if you don't know, those are like banner ads, those are like commercials when you see like brought to you by, that's a sponsorship. So then I made another big jump to another big name with HBO Boxing. With Main Events, I worked in coordination and logistics of athletes travel, medical compliance. Again, it was very hands deep with any startup, with any business, really like getting a general understanding of what it took to actually produce an event. And we ran the event at Hulu Theater at MSG. So it was another like big name, another big thing that I did pretty early on. And then I went into Robert Half, and I was a manager in training there. It was more in like the HR, more in the recruiting standpoint, and getting a better understanding of a business and how you find individuals, work with them, and all of those areas. And then from there, I went to Rutgers football. I worked in their recruiting and on campus. So really, again, I worked with compliance. I got a better understanding of the business. And I really got to understand kind of like my first introduction to sales of like, how do we get these student athletes, you know, the ones that they're getting recruited by Alabama, and we're trying to convince them to come to our school too, to come to our school and to convince and talk to the parents about why their student and why their child should actually be trusted to us and should come to our school. So this was really my first experience with sales. This is actually my last full-time job I ever had, was in 2019. I worked with the New York Mets in inside sales, and this was, again, like really the culmination of everything I did. It was really the last job that I had. Again, it was both in sports and professional sports in the media market, and it definitely taught me a lot about networking and just understanding the space again. And my most recent company that I founded was in 2020. It's called the Legacy Brand. I know it was in my intro too. There, I consult individuals and brands on leveraging your brand and leveraging whom you are into your business. I also, in 2020 and 2021, was, again, this is kind of coming from the idea that I'm someone that I want to speak from experience, and I want to talk about something that I've done and always have done the work and put in the work to make it make sense for why I'm telling you to do the same thing. So I worked with prestigious models, and I also was in talent and acting. In 2021, I also, and this is kind of like a social media bubble. So I worked with TikTok. I was an official creator, so I helped create content to talk about leveraging your brand, your personal brand, and then also just career services. I actually worked with TikTok directly, and I got to work with them a little bit more on going through courses, understanding the platform, and just helping everyone during COVID, during this time where everyone was really glued to their phones, to be able to understand what it was going to take for you to find a job during that time, or even what it was going to take for you to kind of leverage your brand to get people to understand who you are and really what your message is as well. And this is what I'm doing today. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Loot Agency. We're a talent management agency working in influencer marketing. We work in both events, sports, and partnerships. Our brands that we work with today are TurboTax, Macy's, Jergens, Public, and a number of other pretty large brands that we do a lot of marketing for them, both in influencers. So that was like a very long-winded presentation of basically my resume. But the reason why I wanted to show all that up front and really have all the logos up there was speaking to students who are still in school today, or even recent grads, people who are still very, very early on in their journey, to understand who I am. So again, my name is Rachel Mang Brown. I am the CEO of Loot Agency, and I'm also the 2016 University Chancellor Award at Rutgers, along with, like I was mentioned before, I was named New York City's top 20 in their 20. But there was a couple things that I didn't mention, and this is the reason why I didn't put this slide at the beginning. I didn't really have a lot in my intro. It's because obviously it's Female Entrepreneurship Week. The first one's taken care of, but I am a woman of color and I'm a minority. And something that I absolutely love about this event is that there was so much diversity in all the women that spoke today and all the women that are even here in the audience. And I think that's something amazing that's really kind of spawned from COVID and just like everybody being more conscious and being stuck on their screens. So even to that point, again, this is something where my career really took off and jumped because everyone's been glued to their screens. I work in TikTok. And then again, just because I want to talk more about my experience and how quickly everything has happened. I'm 25 and I graduated actually from Rutgers in 2018. And to talk a little bit more about like why I put this slide here and how I got through everything that we got through. Because obviously I know that COVID was a hard time. And I know that with every founder and CEO, entrepreneur that's come up on the stage, they've talked about the hardships that they went through, whether it's being a woman, first and foremost, being a minority, or even just getting to this spot where you were so lonely during COVID, or you had this huge pivotal moment where you needed to look at yourself and understand, like, what is the next step and how can I even get through that? I think for me, my whole journey has really been during COVID. And so the whole time this last year or two has been like this huge pivotal moment in my journey. And that's why I really wanted to talk more about what my internal and my personal mantra is of how I get through everything that I've gone through and how I'm going to continue to go through the things I'm going through today. It's having this idea of both vision and belief. So it's seeing something you haven't done or haven't done yet, and it's a window into the possibilities. And belief is trust, faith, or confidence in yourself and your purpose. And that's something that, I think every entrepreneur, every female founder has really talked more about. What is my purpose? What is my why? And I think that's something that should always guide you. And it's a reason why even the quote on the left-hand side, like, I don't believe in glass ceilings. I really think that today is a reason why you shouldn't. But even more so, going back to the beginning, the reason why I showed you my journey from 2015 all the way to 2021, again, was to talk from the experience that I've had and talk from the experience that I'm bringing today to, again, the young students that might be in the room or even watching online. Is as an undergraduate, I made the goal to democratize the social media economy, which is also the NIL, which you don't know is about sports. And it's called the creator economy. So I made this goal all the way back in 2016. And I wanted to show you every single job that I took up until that point and every single experience that I ever had. And because the journey felt so long when I was going through it, and it felt very difficult. And there were a lot of stops along the way. There was a lot of hardships that you're gonna go through as a student. There's a lot of hardships you're gonna go through as a founder and even as a female entrepreneur. And I knew that what I wanted to do in 2021 and what I wanted my end goal to be was going to be based on the experience that I took and the reason why I took all those jobs. So today, only 5 years later, Loot Agency, the company that we recently co-founded in March, is actually doing that. We're giving back to influencers and athletes the power of income, their rights, their social media, and more. So the whole speech was on crazy faith and was on this idea of doing something that no one ever thought they were going to do before and something that no one else really believes in when you tell them that you're gonna do it. And for me, that was democratizing the social media economy and being able to represent and give power and rights back to all these student athletes, all these influencers, all these athletes. And it might have seemed crazy then, but to me, it didn't seem crazy. And so going back to the whole idea of what is crazy faith, it's trusting fully in what you believe and what you can't explicitly prove. It's unwavering, it's unbreakable, and to me, it really lacks understanding. So when I say the question at the beginning, what if the only thing you needed today to change the trajectory of your legacy was crazy faith? So my call to action to all the students that are here, even for any entrepreneur or female entrepreneur, is the best time to walk in crazy faith was yesterday, but the second best time is today. Thank you.
Okay, we are going to bring on our panelists. I can see you back there, so come on in, our panel. Yes. And I'm going to introduce Valeria Aloe. She will introduce our panel.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Valeria Aloe. I'm the Director of Strategy and Planning for the Feliciano Center for Entrepreneurship and Innovation. I'm also a business owner. I developed a platform to train and develop Latina women and an upcoming author of the book Uncolonized Latinas. Hola, gracias por estar aquí. I'm from Argentina originally. And first of all, before I start, I want to thank Liz, Lori, and Jamil, our team, for this amazing work, for putting together this impeccable event. And I want to emphasize the importance and the relevance of the panel that we're going to have today. Each of these women is special and unique, and they have a unique life story that they are going to share with us. They are leaders, they are courageous, and they have a vision. But most importantly, they learned that to succeed in life, you need community, you need a team. This is extremely important for us, those of us, which is the case for many who step into Montclair State University every day. We are first generation into academic spaces. We are first generation into professional spaces. And the more we share our struggles and our victories, we are all better off. So today I want to emphasize the importance of sharing our stories, of being here to be vulnerable, and to share what has worked or not worked. And this panel is called How to Be a Badass. Why? Because to be successful in life, you need to be willing to show who you are without fear. That's a secret to success. To understand who you are, to embrace who you are, and to show up every day in your life without fear. So I'm gonna read a little brief, a few lines for each one of you, but then I will let them take it and share with us who they are. So we have Daimonic Landy, who is the founder and chef of Solo's Food, a meal prep and food subscription brand that is centered on culturally inspired healthy eating. We have Nadia Hussain, who is a co-founder of the Bangladeshi American Women's Development Initiative, BAWDI, which has a mission to promote, support, and address the unmet needs of Bangladeshi women and children in Patterson and throughout New Jersey, through grassroots organizing, connection to services, advocacy, disseminating information, and educating community members on social issues, while cultivating a safe space for sisterhood. Elisa Charters is the co-founder of Latina Search National, a nonprofit organization which aims to advance diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging, and achieve parity for women across government, corporate America, and higher education, with greater access for small business growth. Melissa Walker is the founder and president of Jazz House Kids, one of the nation's preeminent arts, education, and performance organizations. And please welcome our panel moderator, Jessica Gonzalez. She's the founder and CEO of Lux UVC, InCharged and Experience Vendex, a suite of innovative tech brands from phone charging stations to experiential vending machines to hospital-grade disinfection equipment. And with that, I will let the ladies take the stage and show us how to be a bad ass.
So thank you for such a warm introduction. And first and foremost, thanks for putting us together on this panel and creating such a beautiful event. First and foremost, I think we should start with everyone's individual origin story. Dominique, do you want to go first?
Sure. So I grew up in Newark, New Jersey. I loved my city, loved growing up there. It was very diverse. Everything that we love about America, I feel like was in that city. And one thing that I noticed was that when you crossed over to like the suburban areas like South Orange, other neighboring towns, they had greater access to fresh fruits and vegetables, whereas on the north side, it was Popeyes or, fast food chains. And that was like the beginning of like those wheels turning. And I went to Seton Hall for my undergraduate, studied biology and chemistry. And, most people are expected to go medical school, but there was just something that was lacking, or that I felt was lacking. So I came across the nutrition program here at Montclair State, and I decided to get my master's degree, and I loved it. Like, it was the holistic health, the preventative health that I was looking for, and through that, I was introduced to the Feliciano Center, and in 2020, I won second place for the pitch competition, and that gave me the capital to open up my healthy, I like to call it like a fast food restaurant because it's very convenient, but with the emphasis on culturally competent food soul food, Caribbean food, you know, Latin food. But of course, like those foods are very tasty, but cut down on some of the, you know, ingredients that causes the diseases that shortens our lifespan. So Solo's food was created, and I love it. I love my job.
Wow.
There we go. Awesome, and it's great that you got your start here in Montclair and through the pitch competition, which is an amazing event that Montclair puts up every year. So very cool.
Hi, I'm Nadia, and I did not grow up here in New Jersey. I grew up everywhere. I was the daughter of an army brat, the daughter of Bangladeshi immigrants to this country. And what I observed as an army brat and as somebody who moved a lot, I moved 30 times by the time I was 28, is that when you're here as the daughter of immigrants or with an immigrant family, too often you don't have access to information, and frankly to power structures and decision-making bodies. Too often I didn't see people like who look like me being represented. I didn't see the struggles that my family go through being out there as a story. I just felt so isolated and alone and not supported. When I finally was able to go to Rutgers in New Jersey, and that was really my introduction to this wonderful state, and that's really where I fell in love with this state. I started to learn about how I can build my own power by not relying on the power structures of old, but creating new pioneering spaces for myself and others around me, because I never wanted to make a mark by either establishing something or running for office or what have you, by having it just be my journey. It needed to be a journey where my fellow women of color, my fellow folks who came from marginalized communities can also make their mark so that we can bring our communities together. So I always say in a lot of ways, I feel like Batman, or you could say Batwoman, because I did grow up with a mentally ill father, a father who was swept up in the mass incarceration system because he was mentally ill, which unfortunately sweeps up so many Black and brown families and people. And what that did to me, it was devastating, and I realized I couldn't save him. But what I could do is really work to ensure that this very broken system stops breaking people. So I'm here as Batman on my journey for justice for all of our communities, and that's my origin story.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Well, I was born and raised in Passaic, New Jersey. My grandfather immigrated from Argentina and built basically a dry cleaners in Paterson, New Jersey. And being 5 years old, I remember sleeping over my grandparents' house, and which was literally behind the dry cleaners on Main Street on the south side of Paterson, and waking up with them at 6 o'clock, 6:30 in the morning, walking across the backyard to the dry cleaners and helping them out, whether it was like putting the little hangers together, putting the cardboard on the hangers. It was a very entrepreneurial type of experience as a young child. My father continued in that business, in the dry cleaning business. My mother immigrated here from Peru. And just growing up, they always had small businesses. They were not college educated, but they were street smart, and they had a lot of determination to build their businesses. My father did work in the corporate space for a while, but he also felt like he needed to self-empower. And I will never forget, while I was going to school, grammar school, I would be doing my homework and looking out the backyard, and he was building his business in the garage. And I would watch him come home from work. He would have dinner with us. He would walk to the garage, and he'd work there till about 11:30 at night. And he did this day in and day out until he was able to build his business and quit the day job. So it was very much threaded into the fiber of who I've become. They, unfortunately, never wanted me to be in the entrepreneurial space. They wanted me to get college educated, to work in a corporation, and they really pushed me in that direction. And it wasn't until later in life that I realized I needed to self-empower. And I started several small businesses, and in the for-profit space, but also the nonprofit space. So when you hear Latina Surge National, Latina Surge started as a grassroots model here in Montclair, and based on the Junior League of Montclair and Newark's model, essentially. So it's grown to a national platform, and I really feel like the reason it's been successful is because I've had other people supporting me along the way, but I also have had that entrepreneurial spirit to really push it. So that's my story, and just as a reference, tomorrow is Latina Equal Pay Day, and it's a very important day, because not just about getting paid for what you're worth, which is obviously very important. It's not just about salary, it's about being a small business owner too, and getting access and being paid and having that ability to channel into those supplier pipelines. So this is a very important day, and if you don't know much about it, really please visit the Latina Surge site and learn a little bit about it, and tell everyone around you, because women are underpaid in everything they do. So thank you.
Hi, I'm Melissa Walker. I'm an artist, an educator, a change agent, and an entrepreneur. You know, I'm from a town 400 miles north of the border, Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. And most people, when they hear that I'm from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, first question they ask is, well, how did you get there? But in truth, I am the product of two people who got married at a time when it was illegal to be married in the United States. My mother, first generation Italian, and my father, African American, got married 12 years before Loving versus Virginia that made interracial marriages legal. And in truth, that really has colored my life and our journey. In fact, the reason that both of my parents left the United States was on the eve of my parents getting married. They hauled my father down to the police station, even though it was legal where they got married. They eloped because it was her family had forbidden my mother to be married. And they decided that they needed to move to Canada, where my father was a professional, would become a professional football player, because they could start a better life for their family. And so for me, my life has been colored by who gets to define where you are, what spaces are you going to be invited into, who's going to allow you to tell your stories, and whose stories matter. And so much of what you've already heard from the journeys of each of you. And so for me, I also come from parents who were fiercely advocates of education. They felt that that was going to be the key to advancement. And my grandfather was an Italian butcher in Queens, and my grandmother worked in factories with a 6th grade education. And so my parents went on to get their doctorate degree, and I remember seeing them night after my father's professional football career, working hard for this education that they didn't take for granted, that they hoped would lift up not only their family and their community. And so each of myself and my 2 sisters have all gone on to, higher education and came back to the United States. And I became an artist after thinking that I would become a lawyer, which is what my mother had hoped that would happen with a good education. I said, but I love this vocation of mine, which is singing, and became a jazz singer. And I've traveled the world and performed and recorded as a jazz singer, and I've been on Grammy-winning recordings, and I've seen the beauty of music to bring people together. And so close to 20 years ago, I did a program at WBGO for kids, and I was just so electrified by that moment of watching young people who would harness this music called jazz, this African-American music that has struggled through the crevices of American life, to help young people. And so it became my life mission to put music in the hands of young people, to empower them to see their best selves, kind of on stage and off stage. And it's been a hard journey. It's been a surprising journey, but some close to 20 years later, you really start to see the legacy and the shoulders that you stand on, the family members, the lessons, the falling down, the getting up. And I really do believe that when you put the creative arts into the lives of people, particularly young people, you shore up the future, you shore up our community, because it is creativity that all innovation stands on. And so that's kind of my story.
Thank you for sharing. So first, I want to just acknowledge the fact that everybody here on stage are women of color, which I'm extremely proud of. And these stories are really inspirational. And with the title, Being a Badass, you know, I know a lot of us up in stage or in the audience, you know, think that, you know, you're either born a badass or we are badasses every day when we wake up, but there's still moments where we don't feel like a badass or, you know, we're still scared. So maybe if you guys can share some moments that you guys still struggle with or that you're still vulnerable in or are scared of.
Yeah, I can start. So as you can imagine, being in the restaurant industry, it's already volatile, but like 2020 made it like 100 times even more volatile. And, you know, like Jessica was saying, I had the passion for it. Like, you know, I have, I would say, a healthy self-esteem, but I just have moments where I'm like, is this really what I want? Like, maybe I should, you know, do something in the health field because that's more stable. But what helps me is to, one, understand who am I listening to? Like, you know, no disrespect, but sometimes it could be our families. They tell us, you know, because they love us, like they want us to do things that are more stable, that are more, you know, the path more traveled. Sometimes it's what other well-meaning people, and you know, if I'm honest, it could be ourselves, like, you know, I would say low vibrating selves, not to get too like out there, but you know, when we're fearful, sometimes we say to ourselves things that we don't really mean. And what helps me to, like, you know, get my badassery back into gear is to disconnect from that fear and like those voices wherever they're coming from. And whether that's reading, I'm a spiritual person. I read the Bible. I will listen to podcasts about entrepreneurship, and also being around other women that are entrepreneurs so that they understand. And they're like, oh, you know, this is normal. Like, business is up and down. And, you know, you are still valid. Like, and your ideas are still valid. And it makes me feel a lot better.
I wanted to share that. Oh, sorry, I didn't know if you wanted to say.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Thank you. That's amazing, like what you shared. You know, I will say, on top of starting the Bangladeshi American Women's Development Initiative 5 years ago, I also recently ran for office. So last fall, I ran for Board of Ed in my town. And my town is not very diverse, actually. So I wasn't always sure how I was going to be perceived, but I got the highest vote turnout of any local candidate in recent history in my town. Thank you. And by that win, I subsequently became the first Bangladeshi woman to serve on a Board of Ed in New Jersey's history, which I didn't know at the time when I was running. And I share that because I actually had my first fundraiser yesterday, a non-campaign fundraiser. So if any of you are on campaign listservs, you're getting hit up all the time, right? They're like, oh, listen, the party's gonna collapse if you don't donate $5 right now, right? But that's the thing, like, people, especially men, white men, they are always having fundraisers every year. And I was petrified of doing it, but I'm like, I don't have money. I'm not independently wealthy. I don't have a trust fund or a daddy who was a senator. I need to do this on my own, right? And so I had my fundraiser yesterday, and let me tell you, as badass as I wish I could feel all the time, I felt like a little puppy. I felt like Puss in Boots when he was like sad, because I was like, oh my God, I'm like asking people for money. Why would they give it to me when there's other campaigns happening? It's just Board of Ed. I'm not like running for Congress. And all these like self-doubt, some of that comes from childhood, some of that comes from sometimes even your family, like you said, not always like wanting the best for you, but not always understanding your journey or being afraid for you. And I would say, like, I put myself into Turbo Nadia mode. So Turbo Nadia is not regular Nadia. Turbo Nadia is the Nadia I wish I was. So I'm just like, you know, I'm just gonna pretend to be Turbo Nadia now. And as scared as I am, and as like sometimes like I'm saying negative self-talk or feeling a lot of imposter syndrome, I'm just gonna do it. I'm like, I don't care if I have to lie to myself to do it, if I have to fake the confidence on the phone call or when the text message when I do it, because I feel so awkward when I ask for money. But I still, I go in turbo Nadia mode and I do it. And I think the secret, there's no secret of badassery. The secret is just do it. I guess that there's like, they say fake it till you make it. I wish we didn't feel like we had to fake it, but I haven't achieved that level of maybe enough therapy or what I need to get to that level. But I will say, I'm always terrified every step I take. I am completely terrified. I have a lot of self-doubt every single step. I wish, that sounds exhausting. It is exhausting. But I also know that I'm not doing this alone. I do have my village. They're behind me. And we had such an incredible turnout last night. These elected officials came out, mayors, and they spoke so personally about what I've done. And that meant a lot to me, because that's not just me kissing their butt, them kissing my butt. It's really about like love, like coming from a place of love. My journey's in a place of love. So when I ask for that fundraising call, or I do something that makes me super uncomfortable in terms of my next step, I think, you know what, I'm doing it from a place of love, and that's the best place to do something.
Thank you for sharing. One thing I wanted to point out is I think that we're all kind of scared. I was scared coming up here, moderating for the first time. And just because, we have the title badass, like you said, showing up is half the battle. It's just being there and just persevering through. Lisa, you want to share?
Yeah, I mean, basically, there's fear and then there's courage. And I think we all have exemplified. The reason we're even up here is because we figured out that while we can recognize our fear, we also recognize that we have the courage to take that next step. That one step is like what's so important. And it's interesting because obviously our lives and the experiences that we've had have a mark on us to a certain degree. And I have a very similar experience in that, I grew up on the other side of the tracks. I grew up in Passaic. And I wound up going to Lacordaire Academy here in Upper Montclair when Upper Montclair was not the Montclair you know today. This is like 40 years ago. So, it's interesting because I was pretty much the only Latina in the class. There was effectively mostly white women. It was an all-girls school, high school. And there were a few African-American friends that I had, and I was the only. Even though it was in a room of women, I was still the only. And I was the only, really, that had the Latina body. Everybody else was a little bit more straight. Clothes from back then weren't made as well as they are today with diversity in mind. And so I think I had a lot of body issues growing up. And to this day, even today, what am I going to wear? How's it going to fit me? What am I going to look like? Because this back here, we're talking about badasses, this ASS has a life of its own. And it's like almost, it's really almost taken over my life for most of my life. So again, it's like having the courage, like whatever we do, whether it's talking about your business, whether it's being involved in a political platform or, a new venture, we have to have that courage, find it deep inside of us and take that next step.
Awesome. And I have to say that people are paying now to have a big ass. So
yeah,
you're
are.
Good. You guys are free.
Yeah, I think, I'll go back. Monique, you said when the pandemic hit, I barely could get out of bed for days, between like wanting to grab Tylenol or something because, oh, wait a minute, what is that? What is that? Maybe that's it. Just this paranoia that I had. But also just, my biggest fear is that there are a lot of people counting on the Jazz House. There are a lot of people who are feeding their families, who are making their way, artists who have a place to educate and teach and a platform, and young people who are finding a home and families who have a place that's safe. And so, this idea every once in a while, like, can we put the genie back in the bottle? And you realize at some point that you can't put the genie back in the bottle, that there are people really counting on you. And so for me, it's like, okay, well, then the only way I know to move forward is we're going to have to think through this. The panic, okay, I'm going to do that for a moment, and then it's time to think. Think. And grab those people around you that can help bring ideas and thoughts and keep you positive and moving forward. For me, I just say don't look down. I mean, I run a nonprofit dedicated to jazz 365 days a year in a country that doesn't recognize this music too much, and only about 1% or 2% of the people listen to it. One might say, boy, that's a really great business venture. You know, and so that's fair, but it has had a place in people's lives, and we have a community around it. So I really think it's about setting goals. I love a goal. There's not a goal I've met I won't go after. And if I can set a goal, you know, you guys, it's like the goal. We set goals constantly. So if you put that goal in front of you, then you don't have to look back. So don't look back and don't look down. That's what I do. And you don't get over a sense of being self-assured, and because then you can fall in the pitfall that you are just inflated that you're going to make it through. But if you just kind of keep the goal in mind, and I keep saying, I didn't get this far. We didn't come this far, this organization grow to now fail. So if we can think it through, create relationships and synergies, surely there is a way to get through. If we can send people to the moon, surely we can figure out how to keep this moving forward to change people's lives. And that's kind of how I've done it, and I call into friends and our community and know that it's not a solo journey, has really helped. But by no means, I think, does any person who has achieved any level of success think that it is done. You're never too big to fail, and we've learned that. We've seen that in this country. So you just, to me, you set that goal and you work at it, and I try not to look down too often.
So kind of speaking back on Elisa's point in being in a room where you look different and you stand out, I'd love if you guys could share a little bit more about being different in a room full of, whether it's, you know, other men, other people that are different from you culturally, looking different, and how do you guys get past that?
So I guess I'll start. I was kind of always the only Black kid. Even though I was born in Newark, I grew up in Newark. I usually went to private school, and my kindergarten class, I was literally the only Black kid in my whole entire school. And that's kind of that was like the story of my life, especially going into STEM. And sometimes to be honest, I don't really notice it, but then, you know, you have the people that will make you notice it. And one thing that's helped me is to, again, know who I am. So, because there are unfortunately going to be people, whether it's racist, sexist, homophobic, you know, there's going to be people that are going to treat you differently based off of your identity. And what has helped me to go past that is to, one, recognize that, one, it could be just a lack of education. These are people that have never been around people that look like you, or it could be the worst case scenario that they just don't care. And again, that's a reflection of them and not so much, you know, me. Like, I'm still gonna be a badass regardless. And I feel like, you know, that's something that as women, we can definitely, understand and practice, because I know that's not easy for some like my mom. Like, she's one of the people that she's like, she does not care. Like, she doesn't notice that she's different. Whereas me, I am a little bit more sensitive, and just, again, practicing being in those environments, and also being around, you know, people that you relate to, so that you can get that confidence again. So whether that's people of your religious background or your racial background, just being around them, community, and, you know, learning from them and getting that confidence again, so that you can go back out into the world where you're different.
Thank you for sharing. One other point that I wanted to mention is when you said it's their problem. Because at the end of the day, you're who you are, and if they have a problem with you, it's theirs. It's not your own problem, which I thought was really powerful.
I really related to a lot of what you said because oftentimes I was the only person of color in my whole grade, definitely the only Asian or Muslim or South Asian, whatever category you want to say, in my whole school, right? And even in high school, I went to a very small town at high school near the Pocono Mountains, so not very diverse at the time. And so I was very much sticking out like a sore thumb, even if I didn't mean to. And what's interesting is I actually grew up in Southern California, so I did grow up for a little bit in a very diverse place. And I was born in the United States. I always considered myself an American. I speak English the way I speak. And it was interesting, like you said, I never saw myself as anything different until people pointed out that I was different, that, oh, I have a last name Hussein. Oh, like, why don't you celebrate Christmas? Oh, why can't you eat pork or whatever? Like all these different things. And I was like, oh, I don't know why you think I'm different because I got a better English score than you did. I have the highest English scores in the whole class, but yet I'm being made fun of for being an immigrant or not belonging, or, really what they meant was I wasn't white and Christian, and that was the problem. Again, it was their problem, not my problem. And, even as I got older, being in different spaces, I'm so lucky to be in a place like New Jersey, right? To be in a diverse state. However, look at our state legislature. Our state legislature doesn't even come close to having parity when it comes to women. No state legislature does. Either does our Congress. How about mayors, council? There is no, forget like women of color. Even women, having parity with women is abysmal. And then I look at, so it's like, yes, we have a great state, but who's making the decisions, right? They're not diverse people. And even when I joined the boards of progressive organizations, I'm on the board of the ACLU National, which is a very progressive organization. When I joined, I was one of the few younger folks, women of color, so even in supposedly progressive spaces that are championing ideas I care about, I was still oftentimes the only woman or the only woman of color. And over, I found myself in these spaces where it was predominantly white men. And I remember that for me, I actually didn't feel uncomfortable in those spaces because I always felt like, you know what? I need to carve my own space out. I don't need to ask you for permission because if I had to ask you for permission, I could never get here. I would never be allowed here. So I'm not going to ask for permission. I'm going, like I said, I'm just going to put on Turbo Nadia and go in that room and be there. And there's stats going out, oh, women don't speak as much, women don't speak as loud, women don't take up as much space. I take up tons of space. I don't shut up. I mean, I need to be the opposite. I need to take it back a little bit. But I'm just like, no, you're going to hear what I have to say because what I have to say is important. And we've been listening to you long enough and nothing has changed. So,
get it?
So that's why, so like I say, own that space. You don't have to, what is it, be it to, they say you have to see it to be it. I say it's the opposite, be it to see it.
I would just say I'd like to give a shout out again to Valeria in her book, Uncolonized Latinas, because it's all about the mindset. And so, early on, it was always, I'm not good enough. I've got to get my bachelor's degree because I'm not good enough and I need to get that education. Well, now I have to go for my master's. Well, now I have to go for another master's. Now I have to go for another professional certificate. Now I have to prove myself in another way. And it was just like, now my resume could roll off the stage. And the reality is and I've been in so many spaces. I've been in government spaces. I've been in entrepreneurial spaces. I've been in corporate spaces, university spaces. So the bottom line is that we need to really there are going to be so many times that we are the only in the room. And we have to change our mindsets and just know that we are sometimes overqualified. Like we deserve to be there. We know we should be there. We know what we need to say. And there's still that little voice behind us that we talked about earlier, that self-doubt. And as entrepreneurs, we have to just make sure that we keep pushing forward because, again, we have to just expect that. And we have to do our homework. We talked a little bit about doing your homework. You also have to be really prepared because nobody can take that away from you at the end of the day. They might ignore your recommendations in a meeting if you're the only in the room. They might even take your idea if you're the only in the room. But if you're educated, you do your homework and you learn the tools and the strategies to navigate these systems as entrepreneurs, it's only going to set you up for success down the road, because nobody can take away, your great product or your great skill set or your great service.
I think I would add that, in my life, I had to actually find common ground, right? You had two families from very different parts, and those families need to get together in the ways they could. My life would always be not quite this and not quite that. In my professional life, I think about it as it's our job to be change agents. It's not our job to be comfortable. It's not our job just to make the people comfortable. It's our job to create an environment that can be inclusive for our voices and the voices of so many other people that have been marginalized. And so I think that you invest in how am I going to create common ground with people who look at us differently or might not see the commonality in our lives. But there are so many commonalities in each. We all have to wake up. We all have struggles. We all have different things that we have to move through. So I look at it as our job is to make sure we keep changing the world. And we stand on the shoulders of so many courageous people, so many people who got lost or trampled on, whose voices aren't heard. And it's our job to show up and keep pushing on those doors. And so I don't kind of think about it. I sit in a room. I see people who probably think of, I don't know what they think sometimes. That's just not where my head is. My head is that it's about creating opportunity and opening that door for the power of diversity and inclusion, period, the end. And so let's help educate other people. Let's get them on the winning side about how their life will be better when they open the doors for somebody else. And that's how I look at it. I need to help educate. We're going to help educate because we need you, and we do. We need them, and we need them to open the door, and we're going to just keep pushing. And if we just keep pushing, as these women are pushing, then we're going to make change. And so it's less about, are we going to be liked to me? And it's much more about, are we investing in the change that we believe in to open up those doors? And that's kind of how I look at that. And our job is to bring other people to the side of infinite possibility, which will only happen when you allow all people to reach their potential.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. And a couple points that I got from that was the fact that you want to lift everybody up with you. And also you just show up and go into the room as you are and find commonalities. We all breathe the same air. We all, have something in common. We're all human at the core. So I think that's definitely important. One question, I know that I kind of didn't prep you guys for this, but I was thinking about if you 20 years ago were sitting in that audience and you needed to find your inner badass, what would be the one thing you would tell yourself from stage? And you don't have to go in order. Okay, good. Elisa, you want to start first?
Sure. I would say your network, your friends, like build your community, your inner circle. I think that I did too many things on my own, thinking like I'm not working hard enough. It was always I'm not doing. And you can't do it all. It's just impossible to really do it all. And, there are sponsors, and right here sitting with us are sponsors here. I'm sitting here because of a sponsor, and Michelle. And you have to pass that on. You have to build it, but you also have to pass it on. My colleagues, my hermanas are sitting here, Monica and Valeria and Katia, and it's, we're supporting each other through whatever our mission is, whether it's a personal mission, a professional mission, or our entrepreneurial mission. And we can't have all the energy all the time. We can't. So back to the question, had I known this before, I would have been investing so much more in those relationships and figuring out who's going to be there to support me and who's going to be there that I want to support and make see succeed as well.
Sure. I would say, well, you're going to be okay. Because I think of myself 20 years ago. I'm like, oh my God, my 20s was just, my God, I would not repeat my 20s. It was, you know, it was cool to be younger, but oh my God, way too much stuff going on. But I would say, like, you're going to be okay. Like, no, really, you're going to be okay. And the other thing I would say is trust yourself. Because I feel like, especially as young women, and even women younger than me, and even me now, I think young women are always taught to make themselves smaller, to not trust themselves in anything. I mean, it could be, okay, that guy who asked me on a date creeps me out, but I don't want to say anything because I don't want to make him uncomfortable. Or that guy touched me or put his arm around me at a club, and I don't like that, but I don't know how to back off. To, oh, well, you know what, that guy spoke over me in this meeting, and I was right, or he just repeated my idea, but everybody applauded that guy. What the hell? And so, I mean, I'm just like, women are always taught to make themselves smaller. They're taught not to believe in themselves. They're taught that sometimes it feels like everything I'm doing is just wrong, and every step is the wrong step. And how do I ever feel okay inside? And how do I ever know I'm doing the right thing for myself, or I'm on the right path, or going in the right direction? And I would tell myself, there is no right direction. I'm sorry to tell you. You're making it up as you go along, and that's perfectly fine, because you are smart, you are capable, and even if you don't have it figured out, because guess what? Nobody has it figured out, and if they said they do, they are lying to you. Nobody has it figured out. You are actually in many ways in the same boat as every other human being on the planet. You're creating the steps in front of you as you go. Trust yourself, trust yourself, trust yourself.
Yeah, I have to piggyback what you just said. I would say 20 years ago, I was a kid. So I would just tell myself to be your authentic self. Like when you're 4, 5, 6, like when you're a child, that's when you're like the most yourself, and that's before people tell you like what you're not or who you are. You know, like, you know, when you ask a kid what they want to be, they'll say like an astronaut or like you know, a cowboy or something, you know, something crazy. But to them, they really believe it. And I feel like as we get older, we lose that, and we don't come into rooms being ourselves. And I also want to add that, like, you know, we hear all the time as women of color or people of color, or you know, LGBTQ or disabled community, like what we're not. But there's so many things that we are that other people don't have, or, you know, it comes easier to us. So like off the top of my head, like being the only, or being a minority, I don't really like that word, but you learn a lot of compassion. You learn what it's like to be the other. You learn a lot of empathy that people that don't understand what it's like to be in the, you know, non-majority would know. And also I would say that, you know, what we see sometimes as a hindrance is actually just making us stronger. And I know that sounds like a cliche, like, you know, that's a point of growth. But in actuality, when I look back at those moments where I felt less than, it grew, it made me grow, and it made me feel more confident now as I'm older, that like, yeah, I survived those like scary moments.
I would say, you know, embrace falling down. That looking back, it's all those times you kind of fell down and you know, bopped your head and scratched your knee. You know, those lessons, those obstacles, were really where the greatest growth. Not when you're sitting high, you know, and you're out there in the sun, your legs are up, you're enjoying the beach. There's no growth going on there. That's just the cherry on the top. It's those things where you have to figure out, how am I going to figure out how to pay rent this month? You know, how am I going to pass that exam, or, you know, boy, I didn't get that job, and I felt I was ready, and do I do it again? And, you know, all those little lessons, but all those times that you have fallen down. And even for me today, I just know that the sun's going to shine tomorrow if I'm fortunate enough. And so, again, if we think through it and bring your village with you, those moments where you fell down were the greatest moments to learn from. That no, when you said, okay, well, they say no, I'm just going to come back again. And you know, I think about my husband who's a musician, and so many young people want to play with him, and he had musicians that he wanted to play with, and they were always in front. He had those goals, and so all of a sudden I'll hear, oh, so and so's going to be in my band, and I thought, so and so's going to be in your band? Oh, well, you know, after 2 years of showing up every day and learning all my music and calling me every minute, or, you know, whatever, just showing up and showing up and showing up, I'm going to let them in, you know. And so that person, those people that he's talking about, those young musicians, they got so many no's and those doors. And if you think about it in our own life, I just know that that no was actually like fuel for progress. And so when I look back at young Melissa, I just know was so devastating. It just felt so life-altering, you know. And but in fact, that's the stepping stones for life. That's the stepping stones for the greatness of all of our lives.
Thank you so much. Gave me goosebumps. How are we on time? We're all done? So, thank you guys so much. You all are so inspiring.
Thank you, Thank you. Great job.
Thank you, Liz.
So you can't leave yet if everyone can hear me. I just to close things out, and you guys can go sit or do it. Thank you so much. So happy.
Thank you.
Hope you can hear me. So just to close things out really quickly, I just wanted to say a huge thank you to everybody who made today's celebration possible. Thank you to all of our speakers. I'm so overwhelmed. Such great stories. Thank you for sharing them with us. You all are doing the hard work every day, and you're inspiring us, and I'm just so grateful. Thank you to your amazing teams who've been putting up with my annoying requests over the last 6 months. Thank you to our sponsors, our presenting sponsor, Lightbridge Academy, community sponsor, Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey, our supporting sponsors, the COCO, NJEDA, PNC Financial Services Group, Gearhart Law. Thank you to our advisory board, and thank you to our special guests and faculty members who hosted today's event, Kimberly Hollister, Michelle Onsbacher, Marjorie Perry, Ethany Swartz, Katya Pals Goldfarb, and Jez DeSeo. And a very special thank you to Mimi Feliciano. She is the heart and the soul of this center, and the heart and the soul of this event. And we are just so grateful for your leadership. Thank you so much. Thank you to the FCE&I team, Valeria, Jamil. A special thank you to Lori. I don't know where she is, but Lori Robotham. Yes, Lori, in the back. You're the best. This would not have happened without you. And thank you to the amazing IT team and the production team, Amanda, Crystal, and Roger. And lastly, this is the last one. Thank you to all the partner colleges and universities and viewers who joined us today and this week to celebrate Women Entrepreneurship Week around the globe. We see you. We appreciate you. Please continue shining a light on all of the amazing work that women founders in your community, the things that they're doing. Please, it is so important. So thank you. I'm sure I forgot somebody, and I'm sorry if I did, but thank you all, and we'll see you next year.